All right. Hello. Woo. I've got some hair that's flying away. Welcome back to Watts the Still Flying Away. Watts the Obsession live stream and chat. It is Saturday night. What is it? October 26th, 2024. And tonight we are going to be talking about the Watts case. We are going to be going over several different chunks or elements of the ultimate crime timeline leading up to the eventual ultimatum that Chris Watts' mistress, Nichol Kessinger, delivered to him the weekend before the tragedy that took pregnant Shanann, Bella, and Celeste's lives on August 13th, 2018. So, guys, I think this is really incredible. I say this sometimes when I'm talking about, when I'm making this content and I'm going over everything and I'm piecing it together, it becomes so clear how everything went down. And I really believe, I feel, I see it, know that we are, to this point of my hair's flying away of clarity regarding Chris Watts' mistress role in the eventual tragedy that happened in 2018. So just hang tight with me. Let me just say hello to a few people in chat here. Say hello to the moderators and happy Saturday night, everybody. Hope you're having a great weekend. Let's see. Okay, so I was telling some of you in chat that my area has just become eligible for upgraded internet. I was like, I'm hopping on that before it even starts. So I'm hoping everything is going to be nice and smooth sailing tonight. Sometimes living in a rural area can be disadvantageous. I personally like living in the city. Do you guys are you like urban or rural kind of people? Where do you like living? And where are you from? If you're new here, please say hello and please let us know where you're from. Oh, and hey, if you haven't yet, please hit like and maybe even share the link so more of our friends get notifications and can come on over and be part of this discussion because it's going to be a good one. Hey, Loco Jazz Hands, how's it going? Nice to see you. Hey, Kevin Bashnick, great to see you. I just read your email. I will email you back. You are so funny too. Love it when you're here. Hey, Utter, it's great to see you as always, my friend. Honey Bun Girl, how are you doing? Logo, me and you. Hey, Liz, how are you doing? Thanks for everything you do. Hey, D Nice, what a great name. Love it. Welcome. How are you doing? Hey, Pepper, thank you also for everything you do. Thank you to all the moderators, best moderators on YouTube. I am convinced of it. Everybody loves you guys. We just ask, you're welcome to share your opinion here. We want to hear what you think. We really, really do. And varying opinions are welcome and certainly tolerated. We just ask that you please be respectful to one another, to the victims, and to their family members, okay? Common courtesy. Hey, Aunt Diane, it's great to see you, the Country Life Chicken Lady. So honored that you're moderating for my channel. Thank you so much for being here. Let's see. I'm gonna have to drop back down. Kessinger, my girl. We all love Kessinger. Everybody say thank you to Kessinger. She works really hard to keep things running smooth in this channel. Hey, let's see. Mariska Van B. Oh my gosh, I'm catching alive. I'm so glad you're here. Awesome. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. We're glad you're catching alive too. Hey, Nuckin' Futz, how are you doing? I always have to be careful I'm saying your name. Hey, Claudia, how's it going? Nice to see you. And Janet, nice to see you as well. Janet Carlson. Awesome. I'm so glad that you're here, Janet. Let's see. Sis Vicious, my friend, my girl, important part of the channel. It's so nice to see you, honey. I hope things are going well for you. Hey, Victoria, it's wonderful to see you as well. Kevin's name tonight is Kevin. Will P. Diddy survive to see trial Bashnick? Well, that is a question, isn't it? Oh, my goodness. So much to say about that and so many other cases now. Delphi, Sarah Boone, there's a lot going on in the true crime world. Hey, Donna Calvin, nice to see you. How are you doing? Let me just keep scrolling down. Hey, Susan, how are you doing? Great to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Scrolling. And if I miss anyone, I'm very sorry. Please don't take it personally. Just say hello. Try to say hello back. Hey, Kimmay, how's it going? Hey, Maria, how are you doing tonight? Artemis Prime, my friends. Wonderful to see you. Used to live in small town Midwest. So Illinois, now back in hometown of Los Angeles. That's quite a difference. Yeah. Do you like rural or urban living better? Hey, Lululemon. I was an ambassador once for Lululemon when I had a yoga studio in Philadelphia. That was a really good gig. Got lots of amazing free apparel. Lululemon. Yeah, that's right. I'm thinking the right one. Yep. Great to see you. Nice to see you. Hey, Trailer Trish Barbie. Great to see you. So glad you're here. Hey, Stephanie Carlson. How's it going? Nice to see you. Steph at New South Wales, Australia. Oh, all of our wonderful Australian viewers, moderators, and subscribers. Hey, MK Connecticut. How are you doing? Great to see you, my friend. And Tammy, how's it going? Great to see you. Doing good this Saturday night. How are you doing? How's everyone doing? So happy you're here, Suspicious. Hey, Allison, Wonderland, how's it going? Great to see you as well. Oh, by the way, how's the sound? I'm a little further from my mic than I like to be. It's a little sensitive. Okay. Hey, Lindy, how are you doing? Nice to see you as well. All right. Okay. No. I'm not in Los Angeles. I'm in New York. Liz says, I live in an urban area in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, Allison. Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to bring something into the stream here. It's just a little excerpt from a video that I uploaded just a few days ago. It's called Dr. Phil's Lost Episode, not to be confused with a deleted episode. Lost episode meaning I'm talking about the episode where he interviewed Shanann Watts' family's attorneys. If I should put the link, or it might be in the description box for this original video. If you have a chance to, you should watch the whole video. When I rewatched it just a few weeks ago, I was like, hot damn, I completely forgot that was said. And, it sheds a different light on things we know now. And it's illuminating. Let's say that. So this video that I just dropped is Dr. Phil's Lost Episode, again, referring to that interview episode with Shanann Watts' family's attorney. Lots of conjugation there. Chris Watts' confession, Nichol Kessinger's guilt, and district attorney Rourke's lies, because we know that there are a lot of them. Now, this discusses the timeline of the proposed, alleged, stated by Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger, beginning of their affair and courtship. As it relates to what Shanann Watts was posting on Facebook. You bring in the stream here. Welcome to everybody that's coming in. Great to see you guys. So far, I think the internet is doing good. I feel like it's an upgrade. I hope it is. All right, here we go. You can find it in the Nichol Kessinger playlist or on its own. The link for that video, again, is in the description box. There are many other interesting facts regarding what Shanann posted on social media and what was going on with Chris and Nichol Kessinger. This includes the fact that Shanann Watts started posting about her pregnancy June 9th, 2017. She posted about her pregnancy on June 10th, 11th, and 12th. The first email communication between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger happens on when? June 12th. Again, Shanann posted about her pregnancy for the first time on June 9th. And the first communication between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger is on June 12th, 2018. In fact, on June 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, 2018, on each of those days, there was a video posted to Facebook about Shanann's pregnancy. She was very excited. The video that shows Shanann telling Chris Watts about the pregnancy was posted on June 11th, 2018.
We did it. I like that shirt.
Just the chest.
That's awesome. Guess when you want to, it happens.
Guess what, girls? Guess what? Zizi? There's a baby in mommy's belly.
Mommy, your buddy.
It's in mommy's belly, you silly.
This is in my belly.
We go for our first ultrasound at 3-ish, 3:15. Hey, Bella, how many babies do I have in my belly? Whoa,
Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa.
that's a lot of babies.
It certainly is a coincidence that the first time Shanann posted about her pregnancy was on June 9th. Then again on the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And the first communication between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger is on June 12th. In its discovery, the supervisor in Andarko that reported these emails said that these were the only email exchanges he could find between Kessinger and Chris Watts. So on the 12th, Nichol Kessinger kind of nudges Chris Watts through email by addressing his entire team with this email. Kessinger says, "Gentlemen, I spoke with my gas monitor vendor regarding your app access. Our account has been reset. Please continue to use the same credentials you were provided upon receiving your unit. Let me know if you continue to have issues or require anything further. Best regards, Nichol Kessinger." There are a total of 6 emails between Kessinger and Watts, and it is only on this day did the supervisor and Andarko find any email exchanges between the two. Nichol Kessinger says, "Chris, thank you for being honest with me this morning. Truthfulness is so underrated in our culture. Saludos cordiales, Nikki." You have to wonder what she's referring to. What's he being truthful about on June 12th, 2018? Let's go back to Dr. Phil to hear the final thing I want to focus on in this video from that season 3 episode of The Devil Beside Me.
Once news of Shannon's disappearance spread, Nichol had gone to police of her own free will to speak to them about her involvement with Chris. But was she a hero in this story? Or is it possible, like Shannon's parents believe to this day, that she tried to help Chris? And when it all started coming unraveled, when it all started hitting the wall, she got scared and bailed. Was she actually helping him and got cold feet and decided, save yourself, girl?
Well, listen to that one again.
But was she a hero in this story? Or is it possible, like Shannon's parents believe to this day, that she tried to help Chris?
Now, this whoopsie is critical because we know at this time, Dr. Phil was in fact talking to Shanann Watts' family. First, they did believe that Nichol Kessinger had some responsibility, and no one really knows why. But this little soundbite here is proof positive that that was, in fact, the family's attitude, at least at first. So, okay, I let that roll a little longer than I wanted to because I just wanted to kind of focus on some specific points there. But once it started, it just sort of felt like I had to keep going with it. So thank you so much, Liz, for gifting 5 memberships. And thank you so much, MK Connecticut, for the super sticker. I really appreciate you guys. And welcome to the new members. Let's see. Okay. All right. So I just want to very carefully and deliberately point out a couple things here. Okay. So, I mean, it's spelled out right here, but you know, we're all chatting and saying hello to each other and gifting memberships and stuff, right? So I just really want to make sure that this is understood so super clearly. Now, I'm not just going to play it again. I'm going to pause at points and we're going to talk. In the Nichol Kessinger playlist or on its own. The link for that video again is in the description box. There are many other interesting facts regarding what Shanann posted on social media and what was going on with Chris and Nichol Kessinger. When you look at what Shanann Watts posted on social media, and I always am, one thing I'm very happy I did with this channel, well, I actually did this before I even started this channel, having to do with the research I was doing on this case, but I made copies of most of Shanann's existing Facebook page before it was taken down. Preservation of history, memorialization. That's all that it was. You know, you just had a feeling there was some, you know, kind of drama and contention, you know, increasing in the internet world, maybe with the family, with law enforcement. I wasn't even sure what was going on the trauma side of things, but you could sort of foresee that it was going to be taken down. Well, it's a good thing that myself and other people memorialized that and captured it and, you know, have it around somewhere, because now that we have what we do have of Nichol Kessinger's search history, her phone activity. And some people have looked into, who those phone calls were made to. We're going to talk about all that stuff in just a little while. We have a lot more detail about Nichol Kessinger's activity today than, we did even just a little while after the discovery came out, because everything has been shrouded in such a dense, fabric of secrecy. It's taken a lot of work to really extract actual information, and of course here we just want to, boil it down to the facts, get rid of everything else. It's junk, So now that we have all that and we compare it to Shanann Watts' Facebook posting timeline, the comparison is incredible, illuminating, and absolutely compelling.
This includes the fact that Shanann Watts started posting about her pregnancy June 9th, 2017. She posted about her pregnancy on June 10th, 11th, and 12th. The first
I know you guys can hear, but I need to reiterate that because it is so important. Shanann posted about her pregnancy, the baby she was going to name, baby Nico, the unborn baby, on June 9th, 2018, 4 consecutive days, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and I'm showing you all the posts here. That is when Shanann first posted about her pregnancy. The first time on the 9th, she was very excited, posted the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th of June. Got that?
First email communication between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger happens on when? June 12th. Again, Shanann posted about her pregnancy for the first time on June 9th. And the first communication between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger is on June 12th, 2018. In fact, on June 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, 2018, on each of those days, there was a video posted to Facebook about Shanann's pregnancy. She was very excited. The video that shows Shanann telling Chris Watts about the pregnancy was posted on June 11th, 2018.
Sweet it. I like that.
So this video that, reveals to Chris Watts the fact that Shanann is pregnant with we did it again shirt. We all know this famous reaction where he looks less than enthused about this pregnancy that has just been revealed to him, was on June 11th. June 11th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Boom. Spree of posting about her pregnancy. She was very excited.
That shirt.
Just the chest.
That's awesome. Guess when you want to, it happens.
Guess what, girls? Guess what, Zizi? There's a baby in mommy's belly.
Mommy, your buddy.
It's in mommy's belly, you silly.
She's in my belly.
We go for our first ultrasound at 3-ish, 3:15. Hey, Bella, how many babies do I have in my belly?
5.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That's a lot of babies.
It certainly is a coincidence that the first time Shanann posted about her pregnancy was on June 9th. Then again on the 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay, so as I went on to say here in this video, it is on, Shanann posted about her pregnancy for the first time on June 9th, then on the 10th, the 11th, and 12th, as I just said about 15 times. The first, all of, and the only set of email communications between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger happen on the 12th of June, 2018. Shanann posted about the pregnancy for the first time, the 9th, and then the 10th, 11th, and 12th. It is on the 12th, that day and that day only, do Nichol Kessinger and Chris Watts exchange emails over their work email. There is a total of 6 or 7 if you count the first email that was a generic email to Chris Watts' work team. And Tony Husky, the supervisor, Anadarko, states that, through all of his searches, that was the only day he could find emails between the two.
And the first communication between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger is on June 12th. In its discovery, the supervisor in Andarko that reported these emails said that these were the only email exchanges he could find between Kessinger and Chris Watts. So on the 12th, Nichol Kessinger kind of nudges Chris Watts through email by addressing his entire team with this email. Kessinger says, "Gentlemen, I spoke with my gas monitor vendor regarding your app access. Our account has been reset. Please continue to use the same credentials you were provided upon receiving your unit. Let me know if you continue to have issues or require anything further. Best regards, Nichol Kessinger." There are a total of 6 emails between Kessinger and Watts, and it is only on this day did the supervisor and Andarko find any email exchanges between the two. Nichol Kessinger says, "Chris, thank you for being honest with me this morning. Truthfulness is so underrated in our culture. Saludos cordiales, Nikki." You have to wonder what she's referring to. What was he being truthful about on June 12th, 2018? Let's go back to Dr. Phil to hear the final thing I want to focus on in this video from that season 3 episode of The Devil Beside Me.
Once news of Shannon's disappearance spread, Nichol had gone to police of her own free will to speak to them about her involvement with Chris. But was she a hero in this story? Or is it possible, like Shannon's parents believe to this day, that she tried to help Chris? And when it all started coming unraveled, when it all started hitting the wall, she got scared and bailed. Was she actually helping him and got cold feet and decided, save yourself, girl?
Well, listen to that one again.
But was she a hero in this story? Or is it possible, like Shannon's parents believe to this day, that she tried to help Chris?
Now, this whoopsie is critical because we know at this time Dr. Phil was in fact talking to Shanann Watts' family. And we also know that it's believed, based on what was said by the family and those around them, that at first they did believe that Nichol Kessinger had some responsibility and needed to be further investigated. And then all of a sudden their tune changed and no one really knows why. But this little soundbite here is proof positive that that was in fact the family's attitude, at least at first. So now we need to back up a little. Let's go back to November 19th, 2018. That was the date of Chris.
Okay. So now we have established that Nichol Kessinger and Chris Watts first documented communication. The only other communication we really have even a reference of is one of their coworkers saying that he believed it was back in around March, which would have been, a few months before Kessinger and Watts stated that they started dating or that they had even met. He saw them talking a few times, a little too close in the hall, right? And that was Cody Roberts, right? And other than that, we don't even have a reference of any soul or any document or any data, even giving a nod to the fact that these two communicated. We might have theories, based on facts and things that we've learned, but there is nothing, like proof positive. So the first time there is evidence of Kessinger and Watts communicating is on June 12th, 2018, and that is after a 4-day spree of Shanann Watts posting about her 3rd pregnancy, and that was her big reveal, the first time she posted about a pregnancy. And what is the content of the conversation between Chris Watts' mistress, who supposedly did not know that Shanann was pregnant, and Chris Watts? Well, thank you for being honest with me. Honesty is so underrated in our culture, just along with ketchup. Saludos cordiales. It's so fake to me. That woman just, drives me a little batty. Yeah. So we're going to not go into that right there just yet.
Back to the Frederick Police Department. Reasons I'm just going to point out 2. One was at a time.
Okay, well, we can do a little review of this part of the timeline here. So the timeline in regards to the week before the murders, which started with, a few days before the murders, on August 7th, 2018 is when Shanann, Chris, Bella, and Celeste flew home to Denver, Colorado airport to Frederick, Colorado from their trip to North Carolina.
But at some time before that all changed, a lot of people were asking those big questions, including Shanann's family, according to Dr. Phil.
Flew. They soon began an affair.
Two. One was at a time that was close to the time of this tragedy.
Sorry about that.
This was an affair, or that she was the mistress, that she was the other woman. She says she thought she was dating a guy who was in the midst of a mostly amicable divorce.
Now, we know that Nichol Kessinger knew that she was the mistress for a number of reasons. I'm just going to point out two. One was at a time that was close to the time of this tragedy, and one was in the very beginning of their relationship. So on August 8th, the day after the Watts family returned home in Colorado from their trip in North Carolina, a lot of things happened. The ultrasound was that evening. Shanann was very upset because Chris had told her that he didn't want to have the baby, but he did agree to go to the ultrasound. That was at 7 p.m. Chris Watts on that day deleted his Facebook account. On that day, Nichol Kessinger gave Chris a key to her apartment. According to the geotab location information, we also know that Chris Watts went to Nichol Kessinger's apartment right after work, and he stayed there right up until the time when he had to leave to go to the ultrasound with Shanann. What else happened?
Let me just lay this out for you, because you really, I need to just make like a document like where it lists it. So I don't know, I'm a visual person. Are you guys? Like if I like see, you know, these items, that's why I make like these little timeline visuals and things like that. You know, if you see these things listed out, you're like, hot damn. So on August 8th, 2018, so that is the day after Shanann, Chris, Bella, and Cece, the Watts family, return home from North Carolina. Okay, that's on the 7th. On the 8th, it's a really, really busy day. Okay, first of all, from Shanann's perspective, Shanann has the ultrasound scheduled for that evening. And during that ultrasound, it will be determined by, you know, somebody other than a celestial being, you know, by the doctors, the nurses, the technicians, what gender the baby is. That gender was going to be sealed in an envelope given to Nicole Atkinson, and later they were going to have the gender reveal party days later, right? That never happened. So Shanann has the ultrasound appointment for around 7 p.m. that evening. Okay, we're talking August 8th. August 8th, big day. Also on August 8th, Chris Watts deletes his Facebook account. Also on August 8th, Nichol Kessinger gives Chris Watts a key to her apartment, because every empanada's got to give out several front door keys to their apartment. You know what I mean? Also on that date, we know from the geotab location information that Chris Watts was in, oh my gosh, where does it show up when it's at Nichol Kessinger's house? Is it Thornton, or I'm going to look it up in a minute. It's escaping me. He was 0.3 miles from Nichol Kessinger's address from right after the workday ended until I think it was like around 5:14 when he'd have to leave to drive home to Frederick to pick up Shanann, to go to the ultrasound appointment, travel there, and be there on time, right? Also on that day, August 8th, 2018, when Shanann had her ultrasound appointment, finding out that they were having their first boy, when Chris and Shanann had been, you know, arguing in a discussion, Chris had said, I don't want to have this baby anymore. Shanann was expressing to her friends how scared she was about that. Of course she was. I can't even imagine how that would feel. So that's Shanann's world. You know, she's feeling torn. She's feeling scared. She's feeling nervous. She's feeling insecure and uncertain. She still is looking forward to her ultrasound appointment, to seeing her baby move, and to ultimately find out the gender. Well, on that day, Chris has totally different ideas. He's like, yeah, Shanann, I'll go to that ultrasound appointment with you. Yep, I'll be there. But I'm going to go to my girlfriend's house after work, and I'm going to stay there until the last minute, until I have to pick you up for the ultrasound appointment and take you there. I'm going to delete my Facebook account. Many believe it's in anticipation of Nichol Kessinger's friend Danielle coming that weekend, and some other things were happening with the friends. I'm getting a step ahead there, though. Just hold on to that. Kessinger gives Chris Watts a key to her apartment. He deletes his Facebook account. As I just said, he goes to her place right after work and stays there right until the ultrasound appointment. And on that day, shortly after Chris Watts leaves that evening, she Googles, it says in the discovery, search terms related to marrying your mistress. So marriage is on her mind. A wedding is on her mind. A future with Chris Watts is on her mind in a different way, at least from what we can tell by the search results and the discovery, than it had been before up until this point. Yet she, on August 8th, just 5 days before these horrible murders, was still acknowledging, without anybody even looking, that she is fully aware that she is, yes, a mistress. Let me just grab some comments here real quick. Oh, Susan, even when I say I'm going to stop, I probably would never be able to. Thank you for watching, sweetheart. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Kevin is our oil field and fleet truck expert. He works in with similar equipment, similar type industry as did Chris Watts, and he's sending me a window sticker from his last truck that includes the features and options in that truck, which is going to settle some of the debate about what can be told based on sensors in that work truck and things like that, right? Kevin, is that what it's going to hopefully settle? I don't want to make sure I'm speaking out of turn because he is the expert. I am not on that. Aw, skinny girl can eat. Aw, don't let anyone shame you, honey. You're perfect. Hey, seriously, how are you doing? Nice to see you. I think let's see, sorry, I'm trying to get to your relevant comments. No, totally off topics, MK Connecticut. Trailer Chest Barbie says, Danielle looked like Shanann. Frankie seen her in a hotel or court and thought it was Shanann. I remember that. She looks remarkably like her facial structure, and she has like the thin lips and we're very, very, very much like her. There is no doubt about that. I am not one who subscribes to the explosion theory. I know that her looking like Shanann, plays into that. But there is no doubt they look very much alike. Lulu Nikki Lemon says NK even said something along the lines of, "Are we bad people?" Knowing Chris was cheating on Shanann. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. That was in text messages, among the first text messages that we have from them from the phone. Good call. See. Lulu Nikki Lemon says, if NK didn't have Facebook, what account was she using to look up Shanann? So Shanann's profile was public, I imagine largely in part because she was using social media for her MLMs and to promote her business in that regard. So you don't need a Facebook account to view those profiles. I've been locked on my Facebook, as some of you moderators and other people know, but I can view just about anything on Facebook. Yeah. Nuck and Front says, wasn't Danielle one of those bodybuilders? I swear that somewhere, I can't remember where, apparently she was. There are pictures of her. I've seen pictures of her looking maybe bodybuild-esque, but also very slender. And that was when she looks more like Shanann. The country life of chicken lady says, I think people give Chris Watts way too much credit when they come up with some of these theories. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Bella does have Chris's hairline to a T. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna return to some of this here. I think it's where we want to pick up.
Right up until the time when he had to leave to go to the ultrasound with Shanann. What else happened on August 8th? Nichol Kessinger. Well, let me read what it says in the discovery here. At 7:25 p.m., that's shortly after Chris Watts left Kessinger's house, Kessinger searched Google on topics related to marrying your mistress. Well, there you go. She knows she's the mistress. There's no question about it. That is on August 8th, just 5 days before the annihilation of Chris Watts' family. Now, let's tie this all together here. Remember that day, June 12th, 2018, the one day where emails between Watts and Kessinger were found, the day right after those consecutive days when Shanann posted on Facebook about her pregnancy? Nichol Kessinger writes to Chris, agreed. It's always nice to find people you can relate to. I enjoy talking to you as well. I feel understood. I am looking for someone to build a beautiful life with. Seems so simple, yet so unrealistic sometimes. Build something similar to what you have done with your wife and those cute little girls. I do believe in karma, so out of respect for myself, you and your family, I think it is best if we keep that friendship at work. By the way, I will keep the conversations we have between us. Best regards, Nichol Kessinger.
Okay, so the significance of, these two pieces of information put together here from the discovery. Number one, that on August 8th, which was a very busy day by all accounts for Chris, Shanann, Watts, and Nichol Kessinger, the mistress, searches right down here, the second from last item, at 19:25 or 7:25 p.m. while Chris is at the ultrasound with Shanann, his wife, by the way. Says Kessinger searched Google on topics related to marrying your mistress. So there is acknowledgement just days before the murders that she knows she is the mistress. So then, rewind all the way back to the very beginning of their relationship, that very first day on June 12th, 2018, when Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger for the first time communicate over email, and only on that day do they find records of them communicating over email. And it is on that day that Shanann had just ended a 4-day spree of, for the first time, announcing and posting about her third pregnancy, the pregnancy of, if God was willing, Chris Watts and other people apparently weren't, baby Nico would have been born, that pregnancy. It is right on the tail end of those 4 days of posting about the pregnancy. Kessinger says to Chris, I am looking for someone to build a beautiful life with. Seems so simple, but so unrealistic sometimes. So trite. Build something similar to what you have done with your wife and those cute little girls. So in Nichol Kessinger's own words, from the first communication we have from her to Chris, literally to just days before the murders, there is acknowledgement all along of her awareness of her position as second fiddle, sloppy seconds, not numero uno, but rather skanky empanada, the mistress. Thank you, Kayla. God will take care of them. That's a lovely comment. Thank you. So, that's just, okay. So, case closed, right? Case closed. She knew all along she was the mistress. She knew all along that Chris was in an active marriage, that, if that marriage was, just about to be, as she said at some point, the divorce was just about to be finalized, she wouldn't be viewing herself as the mistress. She would be viewing herself as the new woman. the main event of the evening, the entree with something a little special. But no, she was the mistress. Second fiddle is her big fear was, in her own words, that she said she was afraid she'd always be second fiddle. And Passfield says, I believe the email is a cover-up. Oh, that's very interesting. Say some more about that. I'd love to hear it. Okay, so now we are going to, along, the lines of looking at the timeline, moving towards the ultimatum that was given by Nichol Kessinger to Chris Watts in the days leading up to the murders and the eve before the murders. Let's take a trip back a little earlier in their relationship to July. There she is, our girl.
In Nichol Kessinger's own words. Now, you can hear her own words telling you about what happened on July 14th, 2018, in 3 of the 5 interviews that were recorded, the audio at least, between her and Kevin Kobach. She also gives you a written account of what happened on July 14th, longer after the fact, through her 7-page letter to law enforcement that was dated September 5th, 2018. It's worth noting that this letter was submitted to law enforcement on the day that she found out that she was no longer going to be working with Kevin Kobach, but rather moving forward, she was going to be working with Dave Baumhover. I don't know if it was Kobach himself or perhaps some people in law enforcement who were listening to the recorded interviews of Kessinger and Kobach, decided that maybe they weren't getting as far as they wanted to get with him being the interviewer. We all know that their relationship, and I'm speaking of NK and Kobach, was really friendly, maybe getting a little too close.
I can speed this up a little. I'm talking a little slower than I am appreciating. Let's see. Whoops. Made this video a while ago. I lost my place. I'm sorry.
Dave Baumhover. I don't know if it was Kobach himself or perhaps he maybe getting a little too close. Perhaps there were some connections that they were making, just maybe, that were prohibiting him from getting as many answers from her as law enforcement wanted or expected. So in case you forgot what it sounded like when Kobach and NK were talking when he was interviewing her, let's take a listen to a sound clip from one of their phone interviews.
For remembering that. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm really trying to help you guys because I need you guys to help me too. Like, this is a team. It's just don't.
So the reason why we can't, I did think about this yesterday that I would like to sit down.
So yes, you did hear right there. She said, I'm trying to help you, but we're just doing this as a team here. So don't fucking let me down. Let her down? What exactly did law enforcement owe Nichol Kessinger? Let's hear Nichol Kessinger's own words what she and CW did on July 14th. This clip is from the second interview where she came in to speak with, well, actually it'd be the third interview in total, where she came into the police station to speak with Kevin Kobach. And yes, her father was present.
So the second time I went to that house, I'm not sure what day it was, but it was the weekend of the 14th.
Of August?
July. I don't know if it was the 14th or the 15th. One of those 2 days. But we had went out and we stopped there just real quick on the way back. And we were there not very long. But that time I saw a picture of his wife and one of his kids. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, she's so beautiful. And I took a step back and I was just like, this man has a gorgeous house. He has beautiful babies. He has a beautiful wife. He has an awesome job. Why would he want to leave this? And I remember talking to him about it, and that was the first time that I tried to actually say, what do you think about not separating from your wife? Like, what if you really try to work on this? And he had expressed to me that we tried to work on this and it's not working, so that is why we're separating. And I spent some time, like, just, you know, kind of, because it almost made me feel bad, where I was like to the point where I'm engaging in a relationship with a man who, the way he described it, is in a contractual agreement, but was not in like an emotional relationship with somebody. And for me, the way I would have preferred to do this is to have waited till that contractual agreement was also done, and he was done. And he could have approached me and said, I just had a divorce, you know, maybe we could take this slow, what do you think? But instead it was, oh, we're separated and we're working on a divorce. And that is the part that I feel bad about, because I should have waited on that, and I didn't. And, you know, I was just like, well, they're already there. So, you know, but then being in a house, I was just like, why? Fix this. Find a way to fix this. Make it work, you know? And I was like trying to push him to do it, and he seemed pretty reluctant to do it. He didn't want to. And, I don't know, we were still seeing each other fairly frequently, but I kind of like backed away so we weren't hanging out quite as much, and we were still close, but it was just like, I really wanted him to try. Like, I wanted to know that he tried and it didn't work, and then he moved on, not that, you know, they both kind of tried and then he got himself into a situation with somebody else. And I don't know, I just thought he had a beautiful life going on, and he could have made it work. That was the way I looked at it from the outside.
So is this something you reflected on since this event, or was this you?
No, I was doing it then. Like,
you said, this doesn't look right. He's kind of, I don't want to be responsible for breaking up a marriage, especially with 2 children. Is that kind of the gist I'm getting here?
I didn't think it didn't look right. I mean, I think he was legitimately sleeping in the basement, and I didn't think that these two were, I mean, I think it was like, hey, we're both stuck in this house for now. We got to sell this. In the meantime, you live here.
Here's the interesting thing. Chris Watts was never sleeping in the basement. Shanann sends a text message to, it's Addie or Christina, after the first night that they are back from North Carolina. So that's August 7th going into the 8th. And then there's, okay, so then there's the 9th. And then, so there's 2 nights that pass. And then it's on the 10th, the night before she's going to be leaving for Arizona, where she's saying, I'm not going to be sleeping on the couch again tonight. So, you know, if he's going to be like this, I am going to kick his sorry ass out of the bedroom. He can sleep on the couch. So it would make no sense that Chris Watts was sleeping in the basement while his family was in North Carolina. We know he wasn't sleeping in the basement before that. In fact, you know, Shanann reports, and he has no opposition to it at any point, that they had a very healthy romantic and sex life before North Carolina. So then the 2 days when they returned back to Colorado from North Carolina, according to Shann's text, and I don't know why she lied about this to her friends, they were sleeping in the bed together. And at some point she got up and went to the couch. And then maybe on the last night, she kicked him out of bed and made him go to the couch. But he was never in the basement.
I live here. We sleep in different rooms, take care of the kids. That's just like kind of how I took that. And no, I didn't think it didn't look right. I just thought it just seemed like he had so much going on, and it was just beautiful that I was like, why don't you just try this out, you know?
Okay, so there are several things in that audio clip that are just wrong. Most of them, I'm sure you picked up on yourself. So a couple things relative to the date, July 14th, 2018, and the way her stories don't line up with each other is that she says outright, you know, we were there for a not very long time. Okay. We were there for a short time. All right. And during the time that they were there, it's certainly, now you tell me in the comments if you think I'm wrong, she makes it sound like her big concern was CW saving his marriage, his beautiful relationship with his wife, right? That's the main concern as she relays it to Kevin Kovac. You know, she says it almost made me feel bad and talks about the contractual agreement that supposedly Watts told her he was in with his wife. I don't know about that. Maybe, maybe not. She kept saying, you know, I really wanted him to try. Something that I noticed was she said, I really wanted him to try. I wanted him to know that they tried and then it didn't work out and he moved on. You know, she kind of catches herself there. It's not that she wanted them to try for the sake of him saving a beautiful thing. She wanted him to try so he could prove to her that she was number one. She wasn't second fiddle, that he really wanted to be with her above all else. Okay. Kobach explicitly asks her, is this something you reflected on? And she says, nope, I was doing it then, which we know she wasn't. She later says after that, yeah, I kind of pulled back. I was cold feet in it. And we know from the mountain of evidence that we see in Discovery, and I'm sure there's a lot that we don't see in Discovery, that was not true at all. She also says outright to Kobach, well, it wasn't about us. I kept saying to him when he would say, well, what about us? Well, what about us? I would say to him, well, don't worry about us. Worry about your relationship. That's more important. But then she clearly is going to contradict herself in the 7-page letter that we're about to take a look at that she submitted to law enforcement when she found out that she was having a switch in investigators from Kevin Kobach to Dave Baumhover. So let's go ahead and take a look at this 7-page letter that NK sent in unsolicited to law enforcement that she dated September 5th, 2018. Okay.
I refer to this as the cover my skanky empanada ass letter because that's all she's trying to do in this document.
So she says that we went to his house and she went to drop him off after they visited the Shelby Mustang Museum in Boulder. So that's what she was referring to. And we just listened to that recording from her interview. She says, while at his house, I felt uncomfortable as if I did not belong there. Well, no shit. He had built a beautiful life and it made me think that there was still a chance for him to fix things with his wife. I've noticed that as I've listened to all these interviews and her letter, there's just some choice wording that she weaves throughout. It's just the wording is repeated. To me, it's almost rehearsed, repeated, and repeated again. She says, I told him that I did not think it was fair to SW or to me that he was trying to live 2 lives by being in a relationship with both of us at the same time. Said that I think he either needed to fix things with her or let me go, or he needed to move towards trying to finalize his divorce. I told him that I thought his problems with SW were fixable and that he should focus on trying to rekindle the relationship that they had before giving up. He said that SW was set on separating and that so was he. He said that SW wants something, she gets her way. I told him that I did not understand why he hadn't completed the divorce after all these months, if they were so adamant about it. If she wanted it as bad as he stated, I did not understand why it seemed so stagnant. At this moment, I realized that he might be lying to me about his separation. So I started quizzing him on things that he had told me earlier. Okay. So she remembers this much later while she is writing this letter to law enforcement, and she includes these very specific details. But she did not remember any of this, the part about him possibly lying and what we're about to learn. She quizzed him on when she was interviewed by law enforcement. It's just all so weird. It's like she builds her story as she's going along to whatever best suits her and makes her look as good as she possibly can, given what happened. So she goes on to say, this I refer to as the moment any guy I know would never, ever, 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 ever want to date this woman or would dump her if he was dating her. So she says, I asked him when was the last time he was intimate with his wife. Good Lord, heaven above. And then she says, CW told me that day that the last time that he and his wife had sex was in May. But he told me on an earlier date that the two had not been intimate since March or early April. She then says, I asked CW if he used protection when he slept with her because he stated on an earlier date that he had used condoms when they had sex. He told me that he had not used protection. She goes on to say, I asked him if he was lying about the separation, and CW said no, in capital letters. I asked him if he was actively trying to have a child with SW since they had unprotected sex. He said no, in capital letters. I left his house. So I think the reason that this is relevant, the difference we see here between her verbal account that she gave law enforcement when she was interviewed and this written account that she gave law enforcement after she had time to think about it and think about what was going to make her look best, was that in her first verbal account, it's all about him and Shanann and their marriage, even though she won't say Shanann's name, and him saving his beautiful life. But here, and I don't know why she includes these details about asking him when they had been intimate. But, I think this is probably more along the lines of truth, if anything. I think she did go down this line of questioning, asking him when they had last been intimate, et cetera, because it was never always about CW and definitely not Shanann or anyone else's happiness for that matter. It was always about her and her happiness and getting exactly what she wanted. So let's take a look at what Chris Watts himself had to say in regards to what happened on July 14th, 2018. We get Chris Watts' account in kind of bits and pieces through his interview with Tammy Lee, Dave Baumhover, and Agent Coder when they go to visit him in prison. And he does reveal a little more of what he says happened, to his wife, his daughters, and his unborn son. And he also does reveal more about what he was thinking and more details about his relationship with NK. Now, this is all assuming that we can believe that some or all of this is true, which, anything that he says, we do need to look at with a skeptical eye, because a lot has been said and then retracted by him or disproven in another way. So, we've got to take it for what it's worth, basically. So he does say, he says earlier in the interview that he had to talk her down sometime. And just like with many of the other things that the investigator should have latched onto and asked more about, he just kind of moves on from that. He later does say to Tammy Lee, this quote here, she, talking about Kessinger, had her moments where I had to talk her off a ledge kind of deal. Okay, when, Tammy Lee asks him to talk a little more about that, he immediately goes into, now this is interesting, there were some kind of videos of Kessinger recording herself because she was bipolar. He goes on to say that his father, as an attorney, told him about a few of the videos Kessinger made where she was talking about being bipolar. He goes on to say she'd get worked up about nothing. And then he went on to talk about the times that Kessinger went to his house. In my opinion, all of these different things are not next to one another in the interview, coincidentally. I think that in Chris Watt's mind, what he said first, that he had to talk Nicole off a ledge sometimes, and then the idea of her possibly being bipolar, and then his recollection of her coming to his house a few times. I think for him, in his mind, these things are all very closely related. Get me? Does that make sense? So I think that he's thinking about talking her off a ledge. She's freaking crazy, and she was super crazy the times when she came over to my house. So in that interview, when he does talk about her coming over on the 14th, he recalls missing many calls from Shanann, 10 calls. And I think he missed a total of 12 calls that day, as we will see in Discovery, where they laid out the quote unquote facts of the case. Okay. And he also talks about him, then learning that she was, until then, he didn't know that she was dating other people. And he found out that she had made several dates or a couple of dates on eHarmony, but she didn't actually go on those dates because the people that she made the date with did not show up. Okay, very interesting. At another point in this interview, he also does talk about Nichol Kessinger saying that she really wants to give him his first son, that she was often caught up on this idea of being in second place or playing second fiddle, and that it was her grandest hope that she could
We're going to be talking about some new stuff coming up in just a couple minutes. I'm just laying the groundwork for it. I just want you to know that.
Someday give him a first son. Now we can corroborate Chris Watt's account of July 14th, a la his interview with Tammy Lee and friends, with his account of the day, July 14th, as he recalls it in his book with Sherilyn Cadle, Letters from Christopher. I don't have a copy of this to show you because I did not purchase the book, but I've read this part several times. So Christopher Watts tells Sherilyn Cadle that they were over at his house, and Dieter, the probably 8-pound dachshund, leads Nichol Kessinger upstairs. I guess he strong-armed her into going up the stairs. So when she's up there for a couple minutes playing around with Dieter, supposedly, and when she starts to come down the stairs, she is frozen on the stairs, and it has a dazed look on her face. When he asks her what's wrong, she goes on to tell him, I just saw a picture of your wife and girls, and, what the heck, what's going on? She's so beautiful. And why are you doing this? Why would you give up all of this for me? And so Christopher Watson says that he, was able to talk her down off the ledge. He pulled her over to the couch and held her and consoled her and told her, that she is the only one. And it was at that point, Nichol Kessinger, probably in retribution, told him about the dates that she had made with the eHarmony folks. So later on, they each go on to talk about how their sex life was never the same after that. And that when Nichol Kessinger pressed him as to what was wrong, he said that he couldn't get over the fact that she had planned on going on some other dates. Okay. So it was also, according to his account in Sherilyn Cadle's book, and Nichol Kessinger's account in piecemeal sound bites throughout her interviews with law enforcement regarding this day, July 14th. I will never know why they didn't press her more to get her freaking story straight. That Nichol Kessinger tells him that she wants to give him his first son. Okay? So this really is a whole lot to put together here. So let's now compare this to what is said in Discovery. We see that on July 14th, it says Kessinger and Watts visited a Mustang museum in Boulder together. Check, the Shelby Museum, right? It says that around 10 o'clock, Kessinger called Watts and they held nearly a 5-minute conversation. Apparently, they're making their plans to meet up, right? Then it says at 10:19, Watts logged onto Facebook. Now, this is interesting. This day and a couple days before, and I think a day after or two, Watts logged onto Facebook, which is out of character for him. And shortly thereafter, he deleted his Facebook account. But that's for another video. Take note. Now, the Discovery then goes on to say at 10:56 to 11:38 hours, Watt took photographs of assorted vehicles, and the metadata proves that he was actually, yes, at the Shelby American Collection Mustang Museum. At 12:46 to 13:08, Shanann, oh gosh, poor Shanann, made 4 unanswered calls to Watt. So this is in line with his account when he was talking to CBI, saying that she had called several times that day and he had not answered. Okay, at 13:17 minutes, so that's at 1:17. Watts answers Shanann's 5th call, and they held just a 5.5-minute conversation, so he could check in with his wife and his daughters who were across the country. So at 13:25 or 1:25 p.m., Watts searched the internet for 24 Karat Bistro and the restaurant's menu. So remember, macros. NK was very picky about what she ate. The data analyst that was working with law enforcement notes, I confirm this restaurant is located at 587 Briggs Street in Erie, 10 miles south of the Shelby Museum. So this all sounds aligned. At 14:36 at 2:27 hours, so this is 2:36 to 3:27, Shanann continued to make unanswered calls to Watts. I just feel so freaking bad for this woman who's 15 weeks pregnant with this man's baby. At 15:37 or at 3:37 p.m., Kessinger calls Watts, and of course he answers, and they hold a nearly 5-minute conversation. At 16:02 hours, 4:02 p.m., Kessinger called Watts, and they held a nearly 43-minute conversation. So I'm just going to go to, the time that we use here, not military time. At 4:26 p.m. to 5:27 p.m., during that call and just after, Shanann made 4 more unanswered calls to Watts. So while he's on the phone with Kessinger and after, again, for the 3rd time, Shanann is ringing up her husband, wants to tell him how the kids are doing, how the baby is growing inside her belly is doing, and he just, can't be bothered. Here we have at 5:23 p.m., Watts finally called Shanann back, and they held a 10-minute conversation. Ostensibly, this is after NK had left his house. At 6:14 p.m., Watts spends nearly 2 hours online researching Dave Bunk Minerals. Dave Bunk Minerals, and the data analyst notes, it's a mineral dealer located near Arvada, and he's looking for dioptase, which is a translucent emerald-colored mineral. Now remember, NK was very much into minerals, quartz, crystals, and all of these other more natural geo-type things. Okay, so it should be noted that also in Watt's account of this day, July 14th, 2018, as he's telling the author of Letters to Christopher, he says that, all of this, NK seeing the pictures, them talking about her making dates with people in eHarmony and not going, and then eventually afterwards, after what I'm about to mention happens, she telling him that she wants to give him her firstborn son. Nichol Kessinger got really pissed off, and she stormed out of the house, and she went and sat in her car, and she sat there, and they were texting back and forth, and or talking back and forth while he was in the house, and then eventually she came back in. Now, this just really reminds me of, I said this on one of my live streams, that I can remember doing something like this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is a video I created before. I sped it up because I started talking really slowly, but now it is a little too fast. I'm sorry about that. It's almost done here. Then again, we're going into some new stuff. We're going to also look at some work that Footsteps of Murder. I was creating this portion of the timeline that we're going to be talking about in a moment. I was doing this work. I was researching it while I was doing it. And I was like, for the love of God, somebody has already done this. And that is freaking delicious. So we're going to watch a bit of Footsteps of Murders, one of the videos. It's a part 7 video. Amazing channel. Her research is freaking phenomenal. Highly recommended.
My very first boyfriend when I was like 15 years old, and I would behave this way. If something was going the way I didn't want, I would, kind of storm out, try to be dramatic, make a point, and then, I'd return and want to be loved. Well, that was me doing that with my 15-year-old undeveloped brain. and, learning how to be mature and act in relationships. And in this case, we are talking about a 30-year-old woman in a relationship with a married man with a family, kind of definitely acting in this very childish way. So I think that some of this accounts for the conversations that they were having, during which time Shanann was calling and he didn't answer. She went and stormed off, sat in her car for quite some time, according to him, and then eventually came back in. That's when they had the conversation that ended with she telling him that she wanted to give him his first son.
Okay, so I'm gonna wait.
Now, what are we missing here? It seems like we're missing a piece of information, right? What else may have happened on this day? I mean, what prompted
This is very, very, very important.
NK to go so far as to tell him that she wants to give him his firstborn son? I wonder. Well, it just so happens that on this very day, on July 14th, 2018, Shanann posted on Facebook, which we know Nichol Kessinger was looking at based on the copious amounts of Google searches that were found and that were actually released regarding her searching the Watts family, its members, and things about the Watts family. And Shanann Watts posted her first picture of her first little outfit that she had purchased for the anticipated baby Watts. This is a post that appeared on Facebook that same very eventful day, July 14th, 2018. It's a picture of this little North Carolina Panthers onesie, so super cute. And actually, if, Nichol Kessinger didn't know better and was wondering, just by the colors, these look like boy colors to me. It's not a pink little outfit. It says, bought baby Watts first outfit. Okay. This post is leaving nothing to question. Is it Chris Watts' baby? Well, she says baby Watts. Is the baby, in the oven or not? Well, she's buying outfits for it. So, I mean, yeah, it is. And if she were to surmise whether it was a boy or a girl, based on this picture, just when you're thinking our traditional baby boy blue or baby girl pink, this would look to me like it would be more of a baby boy outfit. But, let's say we don't even have to go that far. It is without a doubt a fact that Nichol Kessinger knew that Shanann Watts was pregnant because she had been posting about it for a couple weeks prior to this post. And from what we can tell, Nichol Kessinger,
and as we've already went over, for 4 days straight prior to the first documented communication between Nichol Kessinger and Chris Watts.
was.
You see how there's these pivotal days? We have July 14th. We have August 8th. There are these concrete days that create the structure and the foundation that really, it creates a stage, a setting, a backdrop for all of the things that transpired and were communicated between Kessinger and Chris Watts that led up to the eventual tragedy. Do you see how all this is fleshing out?
Searching her on Facebook basically every day, searching her on Google, where her Facebook page would be the first thing to come up virtually every day. I am going to take a wild guess. It would not be a logical leap to say that Nichol Kessinger had already stalker searched Shanann Watts on this day, July 14th, and she saw this post. So this picture of this cute little outfit for the anticipated baby boy Watts, in my opinion, was what set Nichol Kessinger off that day and why July 14th, 2018 was such an eventful day in the relationship of NK and CW. What I also believe to be true is this is the day when CW started to set his plan into motion. It was on this date he realized that his worlds were colliding, that he could no longer pull off this this scheme of having these two separate lives, his life with his family and then his life with his lover on the side, or happening at the same time, or however he saw it. It is my belief that on this day, when his worlds came crashing together and his sweet little lover had basically a nervous breakdown for which he had to talk her down off the ledge, and she stormed out of the house and made crazy calls and crazy texts inside the house from her truck in the driveway to him for quite a while, that Watts was like, this cannot be my reality. This cannot happen. She is not going to deal with me having a family while she is in my life. I need to do something about it. It is my opinion that on this day, she gave him a super huge ultimatum, and he was left with the thought of, what do I do to, live the life I want to live? I can't have them.
This was ultimatum number 1 on July 14th. I'm sure of it.
Both at the same time. It's got to be one or the other. Now, on a Facebook live stream that I subsequently erased just due to the nature of the messages that I received afterwards, I did reveal that, a friend of mine who is an attorney had been in contact with some people who are critical, pivotal.
I don't know what I say here, but many of you know this story. Through this chain of connections, it was learned that all of the text messages from Nichol Kessinger and Chris Watts' phone, we're talking SMS messages. We're talking above the board text messages, not, end-to-end encryption, not, secret calculator, but the standard text messages from Kessinger's phone, they were, yes, in fact, all retrieved. And I am 100% on that. Okay, so, why was that last bit there important? Well, we saw that, the first email communications between Chris Watt, and the only day, according to the supervisor, Anadarko, the only day there was emails between Watts and Kessinger, and there were 6 of them, was on June 12th, 2018. And it was on that June 12th, 2018, that had followed the first day that Shanann had posted about her pregnancy, and that was on the 9th. Then the second day, the 10th, the third day, the 11th and 12th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. The first emails between the two are on the 12th. They are about honesty. Now so that's one critical date, June 12th, right? So now we're talking about July 14th. It's on July 14th, when they have Watts and Kessinger have this date situation. They go to the Watts family house. That's when Dieter strong arms Kessinger, as I like to say, up the stairs. Her story is she saw a picture with Shanann with the girls. Oh my God, she's so beautiful. You have a beautiful life. Wife. Why would you leave us? And, according to Chris, and I think I have that bit, that excerpt from his jailhouse, the prison interview coming up. He says, that she bugged out. She went in her car. She was pouting. She was throwing that, teenager little hissy fit, was trying to get attention from him. He said he liked this because he was able to reel her back in. He brought her back on the house. They snuggle-wuggled on the couch. He was holding her. He was able to, just kind of sort of control the situation. He wanted her to stop. He wanted to bring her back in, to not be mad at him, to, have that same level of intimacy that they had just moments ago. How betrayal of trust can, evaporate intimacy just poof like that. And he was successful at it. He talks about feeling good about this. It is on that same day when she tells him that she wants to have his firstborn son. She doesn't want to be second fiddle. She fears that she's going to be second fiddle forever. Well, it just so happens on that same damn day when she announces that she wants to have Chris's firstborn son and has that fit and storms out of the house and acts like a child. It's on that same day. It's not very bright or sharp here, but the date of this posting by Shanann Watts is July 14th, that very same day. It's at 3 something or other, I believe. I'm going to have to double check that. Don't quote me on that. Bought Baby Watts first outfit, you know, and if you are a hot-headed, volatile, you know, whatever she is, you know, stinky empanada mistress, and you see this, it's looking baby boy to me. And, you know, that was a catalyst for Serious Ultimatum #1. That Serious Ultimatum was enough in Chris Watts' mind for, you know, his paradigm view to shift. And he started thinking about building a life with Nichol Kessinger. And, oh my God, now I've got this surplus family here. What am I going to do with them? Right? What a coincidence, right? And you know what? Here's a side note. The investigators and District Attorney Rourke knew about all of this. They knew about all of this. They were handed it in silver spades, right? They had the primary information. They had the source. And as my attorney friend who talked to someone very close to and involved in the investigation learned that all of Nichol Kessinger's SMS standard text messages were, yes, retrieved from that phone that she tried to basically destroy. Yes, good catch. Nuck and Fred says, I've always wondered why so often I stumbled and said, leave your life, I mean wife, so many times during her interviews. So many times she says that. Like, you know, I wanted something about leaving his life. Exactly. And I think that is a really good catch, and that's critical. No one deserves to have their life taken. My gosh. Let's see. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to catch some comments about this. Yeah, Rochelle says, absolutely no way Nichol Kessinger was just going to sit back and watch this happen. No way. Absolutely. No way. Yeah, they like the Steelers. Chris Watts' family like the Steelers. I got to grab a tissue. Sorry. I'm a little cold. Chris Watts' family like the Steelers. And that's why the Watts family, that nuclear family, Shanann, Chris, and their children were often adorned in Steelers, Steelers fan wear, and tended to watch the Steelers. But that made Bella go to bed and she was sad. Yeah. Yeah, Rochelle says NK definitely knew about the baby. No doubt. All right. Pepper says, doesn't it seem to anyone else that Kessinger and Rourke had something on the side? In my opinion, just wondering, a lot of people say that in comments to the videos I've been releasing recently. Yeah, that is something that is speculated. What kind of spell did NK have over these men? They all gave in to her. Yeah, she refined her craft. She refined her craft fully. She'd been working at it for a while, I believe. Let's see. Okay, so now I want to continue along with the timeline of the ultimatum. You know, so we have these dates. We have June 12th, you know, the initiation of the documented communication between Kessinger and Watts on June 12th, 2018, 6 emails, only day that the supervisor Ann Darko found any emails. This was just coming off 4 days of Shanann posting videos about announcing that little baby Nico Watts was on the way. Hey, Justice A through Z, how are you doing? It was right after those 4 days of announcing the new baby that they interacted in a documented way for the first time over those emails. They talked about honesty, and they talked about Nichol Kessinger wanting to build a beautiful life with someone like Chris Watts had done with his wife and those cute little girls. So, absolute acknowledgement, that he was in a happy marriage. So this is where I'm going to bring in the channel Footsteps of Murder. Guys, again, her research, and I don't say this often about people's research because I'm passionate about research and I like really tight research. She's good, okay? If you are not familiar with the channel and you like this channel, I promise you will love Footsteps of Murder. So credit to her. This particular video, this is just what she's calling, she goes through the timeline methodically. If you like this timeline, putting it all together kind of information, you're going to check out this channel after this live stream. So this is part 7, the truth, the lies, the fact, and the fiction. Footsteps of Murder. Again, it is in the description box. Please tell her we sent you from What's the Obsession and give her channel some love. Again, I'm playing this because I was researching it and I was working on the video, and I was in my research coming across her video, and I find little bits and pieces, and then I just said, hold your horses, girl, take a chill pill and just watch for a minute. And I was like, oh my God, she's already done this better than I could. Holla freaking Luya, check that out. So kudos to her. Just as I go to wipe my nose. Sorry, kind of gross, huh? All right, so I'm going to share the screen and we are going to hear Footsteps of Murder doing what she does so well. So she starts off, the date is going to be, let's see, July 25th, 2018. So I know we went from the 14th to the 25th, and plenty happened during those times, but this is a timeline of Ultimatum, and there is a method to the madness here. Again, Footsteps of Murder, credit to Footsteps of Murder. Check out the channel.
Wednesday, July 25, 2018. 5:30 a.m., Chris called Kessinger and held a 6-minute conversation. Straight after at 5:36 a.m., Chris made an unanswered call to Shanann. 2 minutes later she called him back and held a nearly 11-minute conversation. 6:09 a.m., Chris left for work. He arrived at the Bat Cave at 6:33 a.m. 8:34 a.m., Chris arrived in Fort Lupton. He was parked at the Grease Monkey, which is a local oil change and automotive repair place. He was still there 3 minutes later. Maybe his work truck is having something done to it. Between 8:41 a.m. and 12:07 p.m., Chris searched Google on the following topics: when to say I love you, when to say I love you for the first time in a new relationship, what do you feel when someone tells you they love you, how does it feel when someone says I love you. 9:30 a.m., Kessinger spent 4 to 5 minutes searching Google on topics like how to prepare for anal sex and the anal sex guide. This progressed to searches at Pornhub for interracial porn videos and threesomes with double penetration. This is when I believe Kessinger searched for this and not when said in the discovery. If you want me to explain why I came to this conclusion, please say so. I will make another video explaining this once this series is over. 9:31 a.m., Chris is still in Fort Lupton at the Grease Monkey, also still there at 9:33 a.m. 9:46 a.m., Chris is now at Paragon X3012 in Fort Lupton. 10:16 a.m., Chris is now at the Safeway Garage in Fort Lupton. 3:20 p.m., Chris arrived home from work. 3:47 p.m., Kessinger received a call from Kaylee at Tasman Geosciences and held a 49-minute conversation. Her call showed she was in Fort Lupton. I wonder if she was there when Chris was. 4:35 p.m., Shanann called Chris and held a 23-minute conversation. 4:36 p.m., Kessinger called Watts and left a voicemail. Following an eerily disconcerting childlike giggle, she told Watts, "I miss your face. I was just calling to say hi." Call me back, bye.
Hi.
It's me. I miss your face. I was just calling to say hi. Call me back. Bye.
Chris was on the phone to Shanann when Kessinger left that message. Immediately after ending his call with Shanann, Chris called Kessinger briefly. However, I can find no proof he called her back. It's in Discovery but not in Kessinger's phone records. 6:31 p.m., Chris searched Google for San June's weather. 6:58 p.m., Kessinger called Chris and held a 15-minute conversation. Straight after,
I just want to say, stick with it, guys, because at the end of this timeline exploration here, wait till you see the conclusion that we are allowed to logically come to. It's a big one.
At 7:14 p.m., Kessinger called Jim and held a 19-minute conversation. Straight after calling Jim, she called Chris again at 7:34 p.m. and held a 2-minute conversation. 3 minutes after this call ended, she called Jim again at 7:40 p.m. and held a 1-minute conversation. Thursday, July 26, 2018. 5:30 a.m., Kessinger called Chris and held a 4-minute conversation. Call registered in Thornton. 5:40 a.m., Chris made an unanswered call to Shanann. She returned his call 3 minutes later and they held a 5-minute conversation. 5:52 a.m., Chris left for work. 6:16 a.m., he arrived at the Anadarko office. Shanann has been quiet the last day, apart from an odd Thrive post. Today at 8:06 a.m., she posted a picture saying, "Every single time." 8:46 a.m., Kessinger called Brian at US Hydro and held a 1-minute conversation. Call registered in Gilcrest, Colorado. Gilcrest is a part of the Greeley Metropolitan Statistical Area. 8:47 a.m., Kessinger again called Brian at US Hydro and held a 2-minute conversation. Call still in Gilcrest. 8:49 a.m., Kessinger called Kaylee at Tasman Geosciences and held a 2-minute conversation. Still in Gilcrest. 9:08 a.m., Kessinger called Jim and held a 4-minute conversation. Call still in Gilcrest. 9:40 a.m., Kessinger called Robert Idsardi and held a 10-minute conversation. It's been said Robert is a member of OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis, also known as Thelma religion. It is a form of occult worship that focuses on sex magic among other things, and the main premise is following of the founder Aleister Crowley, "Do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law." Her call registered in Johnstown, Colorado. Johnstown is a home rule municipality in Weld and Larimer counties. 10:22 a.m., Shanann posted saying, "Third pregnancy and I'm feeling really great. Not exhausted, not losing sleep, good mood, patience with 2 toddlers. I'm glad I'm thriving and so is everyone around me. If you're not thriving, you're missing out." 10:26 a.m., Chris texted Kessinger saying, "There it is. Yes, you deserve a pay increase for everything you're doing. Your plate is only getting fuller because people know what you can do. They need to compensate you now rather than later." 11:10 a.m., Robert Idsardi, OTO, called Kessinger and held a 6-minute conversation. She is now in Platteville. 11:28 a.m., Shanann called Chris and held a 6-minute conversation. 11:50 a.m., Chris searched Google for GIT. Not sure what this is. 12:17 p.m., Kaylee at Tasman Geosciences called Kessinger and held a 2-minute conversation. Call still in Platteville. 3:55 p.m., Chris was outside 6201 Saratoga Trail, in his work truck, which is up the road, higher up than his house. 4:01 p.m., Chris called Chase Bank and held a 4-minute conversation. 4:04 p.m., Kessinger left a voicemail for Brittany, her friend. Call registered still in Platteville. 4:28 p.m., Chris accessed my prepaid center. This website services universal prepaid Visa cards. The site promotes a 5% cashback incentive when used at preferred merchants. 4:40 p.m., Shanann called Chris and held an 18-minute conversation. Simultaneous to that call, Chris transferred a nude selfie of Kessinger into his secret calculator application. 5:01 p.m., Chris called Vivint briefly. 5:03 p.m., Kessinger called Chris and held a 6-minute conversation. This call registered in Thornton. 5:16 p.m., Chris called Vivint a second time and held a 25-minute conversation. 5:52 p.m., Chris was outside in his work truck at 2909 Saratoga Trail. 6:39 p.m., Chris called Shanann and held a nearly 5-minute conversation. While on that call, at 6:40 p.m., Shanann posted saying, "My dung do is the best. 9 years of doing my nails, minus when I'm in Colorado. She's amazing. Plus the gel pedicure is the bomb." 7:13 p.m., Chris searched Google for lazy dog in Erie, possibly looking for the menu. 8 p.m., Chris again visited myprepaidcenter.com, possibly to see if he can afford to buy the food. Friday, July 27, 2018. Chris took the day off work.
I'm sorry, I just love how she says that, possibly to see if he could afford the food.
He probably spent the night on the 26th at Kessinger's, as she did not contact him until that evening at 7:11 p.m. She called no one until she called Jim at 6:20 p.m. 10:07 a.m., Shanann posted a picture. 10:08 a.m., Shanann posted a quote from Kevin Spacey. "To know what you want, to understand why you're doing it, to dedicate every breath in your body to achieve, if you feel you have something to give, if you feel that your particular talent is worth developing, is worth caring for."
We now know that we should not be taking any advice from Kevin Spacey, but that is perhaps separate from the reason that she posted that quote.
Then there's nothing you can't achieve. 4:44 p.m., Shanann called Chris on his work phone and held an 11-minute conversation. 6:20 p.m., Kessinger called Jim and held a 2-minute conversation. Call registered in Thornton. 7:11 p.m., Kessinger leaves Chris a voicemail. Call still registered in Thornton. 7:17 p.m., Chris called Kessinger back and held a 2-minute conversation. Call still registered in Thornton. 2 minutes later at 7:21 p.m., Kessinger called Jim and held a 15-minute conversation. Call registered in Thornton. Again calling Jim after Chris. At 7:46 p.m., Shanann called Chris and held a 2-minute conversation, and again at 7:50 p.m., she called him for a further 2 minutes. 8:48 p.m., Chris searched Google for prices on wine bottle openers. 9:01 p.m., Chris called Kessinger and held a 2-minute conversation. Saturday, July 28, 2018. Great Sand Dunes. 6:26 a.m., Shanann posted a Thrive post. 6:26 a.m., Kessinger called Jim and held a 6-minute conversation. Call registered in Thornton. 6 minutes later at 6:38 a.m., Jim called Kessinger back and held a further 8-minute conversation. Kessinger's phone registered in Thornton.
Okay, I just want to pause for a moment just for a couple of things. So regarding the voicemail left by Nichol Kessinger, I feel extremely confident it was left by Nichol Kessinger. I just want to show you because I see some back and forth about this. So let's just put that to rest. Thank you, channel You Know Who You Are, who has done no service to finding truth. Right, Muck Boys? Thank you for saying that. So we have here, where is it? Let me make it a little bigger for you. So we have on, let's see, what date is this? So this is on July 30th, right around the time where we're at on the timeline. How apropos. We have at 4:44 p.m., Kessinger called Watts and left a voicemail intermixed with her creepy giggles. She asked Watts to call her back. So that's retrieved from device number 41, which is Chris Watts' phone, appropriate number on the timeline. And then it's noted audio 2:49 AMR. So what is AMR? That is an adaptive multi-rate file, which is most commonly used to store voice recordings, and that was identified back to Nichol Kessinger's phone. Okay. So let's see here. Let me just play this for another moment. I just have to look up a calendar really quick to be certain about what I'm going to say next. Whoops, I got to bring this back into the stream though. It's not Nicole Atkinson. Sorry, Barbie. I feel strongly it's not Nicole Atkinson.
Chris at some point this morning went to Glacier Liquors in Erie and spent $47.83. I believe he then went to Target to purchase a wine bottle opener as he spent $13.01 there. These posted on his statement on July 28th. He was looking the past evening for wine bottle openers. Chris and Kessinger left for the Great Sand Dunes. This would be a nearly 4-hour trip. On their way to the sand dunes they stopped at the Cheesecake Factory in Denver. Chris spent $26.35 on this day. This posted on July 29th. He also spent $1 parking fee at the Public Works parking meter Denver. This posted on July 28th, which is around 11-minute walk to the Cheesecake Factory. They then carried on with their journey. On the way there Chris spent $22.63 at a 7-Eleven in Monument. There were no calls to or from Shanann since yesterday. I imagine Chris would have been at Kessinger's place and they left from there. 10:58 a.m., Kessinger called OLT Orient Mine and held a 2-minute conversation. Call registered in Fort Garland, near the Great Sand Dunes. 11 a.m., Chris called Valley View Hot Springs at the Orient Land Trust in the San Luis Valley. Their website boasts camping and lodging just north of the Great Sand Dunes National Park. 11:34 p.m., Chris searched the internet for Rio Grande National Forest Zapata Falls Campground, located 7 miles south of the Great Sand Dunes. He made a brief call to the campground moments later. 12:53 p.m., Chris took this photograph. Metadata confirms the image was taken at the Zapata Falls Campground. In addition, he shot a brief video of the same scene. The song playing in the background is Forever Girl by Jan Langston, Shazam. The lyrics tend toward a ballad. 1:44 p.m., Shanann made an unanswered call to Chris. He made 2 attempts to call her back roughly 10 minutes later. Discovery said, July 28th and July 29th.
Here, I just want to make sure I didn't state this wrong. So as we just saw on Discovery, Guitar Building says, Watts the Obsession True Crime. Why would the voicemail be on NK's phone? It would be on Chris's phone, which wasn't analyzed. Chris Watts' phone was analyzed. I don't know where that information came from. Chris Watts' phone was definitely analyzed. In fact, it's spoken about at great length by Michael Prill in the pre-log to the official Discovery timeline in obviously the Discovery here. And it was on October 30th, right before District Attorney Rourke took off to spend 3 days in the Rusick family home, only to accept Chris Watts' plea deal a few days later on November 6th. Anyway, on October 30th, it's when Michael Prill came to the determination that a new search warrant was going to have to be sought out, executed, and exercised in order to access all of that encrypted storage space or secret storage space. I'm not sure if encrypted is the right word, that Michael Prill found was on Chris Watts' phone by accident, just out of his pure curiosity, because he's a good detective and investigator, when he discovered files that had a stem that linked them to that secret calculator app. His phone was analyzed, and they wanted to analyze it more. District Attorney Rourke put a stop on that, but it was retrieved from Chris Watts' phone, device number 41, and it was linked back to an AMR file from Nichol Kessinger's, initiated from Nichol Kessinger's phone. That's what I was saying. So if that doesn't make sense, we'll talk about it another time or later.
2018. Kessinger and Chris went to the Great Sand Dunes National Monument in Alamosa, Colorado.
Okay, she's just going through pictures here. Oh yeah, she's just going through the pictures. Okay.
They drove to the location in Kessinger's Toyota 4Runner. They tent camped at Zapata Falls in an established campground on July 28, 2018. Kessinger said they stopped at a local gas station near the Great Sand Dunes National Park and purchased ice and firewood. She also said Chris paid for the items, but she was uncertain if he used a gift card. Chris also rented sandboards for the Great Sand Dunes. The only gas station near the Great Sand Dunes is the Oasis, 5400 Colorado 150 Mosca, Colorado. Chris spent $20 at the Great Sand Dunes Mosca. Chris spent $37.11 at Konoko Walsenburg. Both posted on his statement the next day, July 29th. Between 2:29 p.m. and 6:55 p.m., Chris took assorted photographs of the landscape at the Great Sand Dunes. Among these is a video of Kessinger speaking into the camera. "Thank you so much for coming out here with me, Christopher. I am having a wonderful time. You mean a lot to me and I'm glad you're having a blast."
Thank you so much for coming out here with me, Christopher. I am having a wonderful time. You mean a lot to me, and I'm glad that you're having a blast. I am so out of breath.
The Konoko Walsenburg garage, Chris went to, I believe, on the way to the sand dunes, as they would pass that on their way. The message Kessinger left Chris shows she had access to Chris's phone, hence she left her message on there for him to find. Sunday, July 29, 2018. While Chris and Kessinger were out together, Shanann had been out busy working. At 12:46 a.m., she posted saying, "Amazing local in York, South Carolina today. Great job to the amazing team here. Had so much fun and the girls even got a chance to shine at Hickory Tavern, 2764 Celanese Road, Rock Hill, South Carolina." 8:34 a.m., Shanann posted.
I have to read this comment because it's important. Cynthia M says, "Rourke and Prill are butt buddies. True story. They are personal friends. Apparently esteemed in regards to one another, colleagues. I don't know. That's according to Rourke, at least. So it's weird that Rourke would just dismiss his concerns about NK. Now, isn't that weird? Yeah, they are butt buddies. Rourke at least speaks very highly of him. Very weird he would dismiss his concerns. It must be that there was something more important from Rourke's estimate than trusting the opinion of his highly esteemed colleague and good friend Michael Prill in a case of this magnitude and importance. My gosh, the homicide of a pregnant woman, a 3 and a 4-year-old little girl. What could it be? Something was more important to District Attorney Rourke. And that right there is a boom. And that's all I can say about that at the moment. Sorry. Good point.
It's saying, "This summer I decided I wanted to spend 6 weeks with the family in North Carolina. Let the kids spend quality time with their family and at the same time help our team shine. It has been busy, crazy at times, stressful, and rewarding seeing my kids' faces. On top of that, I saw our team shine. I didn't have to request time off. I didn't lose my job. I still am getting paid and growing. It's a huge blessing to work from anywhere I am and not have to answer to anyone. My kids can travel with me and go to events when I don't have anyone to watch them. They are my story. They are why I thrive. #no excuses, #work from anywhere, #blessings, #my family, #our team, #one team one dream, #and am pregnant." These pictures of Chris and Kessinger, I believe, were taken at Zapata Falls. This image I found of the large rocks shows the same as in the picture of Kessinger and Chris. They are wearing different clothes also. Maybe these were taken on July 29th, before they came home. Chris also spent $23.18 at Great Sand Dunes Oasis Moscow. Posted on his statement July 30th. I believe his purchases here post a day later than when he purchased the items. We know he was not here on July 30th, so got to be this day when he spent the money. Chris spent a further $10.10 at Great Sand Dunes Oasis Moscow. Again posted on his statement July 30th. Total of $178.58 spent on this trip. Between 9:22 a.m. and 10:43 a.m., Chris continued taking photographs.
She's good, like totaling up all that, like spending on each of these things. I hadn't even done that. I told you guys, she's good.
Photographs of landscape near the Great Sand Dunes. 10:38 a.m., Chris transferred images of Kessinger, to include a full nude selfie, to his secret calculator. 10:55 a.m., Chris texts Shanann saying, "Finished the hike. Packing up and heading home." Between 12:36 p.m. and 2:21 p.m., Shanann made 4 unanswered calls to Chris. 2:25 p.m., Chris called Shanann and held a brief 2-minute conversation. 5:14 p.m., Troy McCoy texted Chris asking, "You are off tomorrow, right?" When returning home from the Great Sand Dunes, Kessinger's friend Charlotte asked her to go to the Renaissance Festival. Kessinger made an excuse why she could not go, as she was with Chris and did not want Charlotte to know. Kessinger said she and Chris stopped in Colorado Springs at BJ's. They sat to the right of the doors and Chris paid for their meals with a gift card. BJ's restaurant is located at 5150 North Nevada Avenue, Colorado Springs. BJ's cost Chris $61.61. This posted on his account statement 2 days later on July 31st. Total spend now $240.19. 5:30 p.m., Shanann made 2 more unanswered calls to Chris. 5:49 p.m., having not heard from Chris, Shanann texted him and asked, "I'm assuming you're safe considering it's been 3.5 hours. Chris replied, "There was a car fire and the Renaissance Festival traffic in Colorado Springs. Just got our car. Headed home." He had obviously told Shanann he was going to the sand dunes and that he was traveling with someone else and left their car elsewhere. 5:53 p.m., Chris replied to Troy McCoy saying, "I'm working tomorrow." 6:10 p.m., Troy replied, 10:04. 6:20 p.m., throughout the day co-workers exchanged group text messages regarding scheduling for the following workday. Chris was uncharacteristically unresponsive. At 6:20 p.m., Chris finally replied, "Copy. Sorry, been out of the house all day." 7:24 p.m., Shanann called Chris and held a 14-minute conversation. 7:39 p.m., immediately afterwards Shanann told Chris, "Sorry you're so tired, but I haven't talked to you in 48 hours, and I had a hard weekend. Glad I have you to talk to. If you care." 7:39 p.m., Kessinger called Chris and held a 4-minute conversation. While on the phone with Kessinger, Chris at 7:49 p.m. replied to Shanann saying, "I'm sorry you had a hard weekend, boo. I will make it up to you, I promise. I'm sorry I'm out of it tonight." Shanann replied, "It would have been nice for my husband to show interest in how the girls, and I are, and the baby. I'm done with begging for you to talk. See you Tuesday." She added, "You're out of it from playing." 8:13 p.m., Kessinger again after speaking with Chris called Jim and held a 21-minute conversation. Straight after at 8:34 p.m., she called Chris back and held a 2-minute conversation. 8:36 p.m., Chris visited myprepaidcenter.com. 8:38 p.m., Kessinger called Chris and held a 1-minute conversation. 8:42 p.m., Kessinger called Longhorn Steakhouse and held a 4-minute conversation. Is this why the quick calls between them? Was Chris checking my prepaid center to see if he could afford the steakhouse food? He did purchase from here. I don't know the amount that was spent, but Kessinger must have ordered it, as she is the one doing the call, so she also has access to his gift card. Monday, July 30th, 2018. 5:30 a.m., Chris called Kessinger and held a 3-minute conversation. A short while later at 5:39 a.m., Chris called Shanann and held a nearly 6-minute conversation. 6:06 a.m., Chris left for work. 6:19 a.m., Kessinger called Irene, a family member, and held a 26-minute conversation. Call registered in Broomfield. 6:32 a.m., Chris arrived at the Anadarko office. 7:30 a.m., Shanann posted a picture. 8:11 a.m., Shanann sent Chris an insurance identification card for their 2016 Lexus RX. The effective dates are August 15, 2018, through February 15, 2019. 9:18 a.m., Shanann sent Chris 3 images of swelling to the right ankle of one of their daughters. Her face was not captured. Chris replied, "It looks like her ankle is dislocated in that one picture." Shanann agreed and said, she may need special shoes. 12:30 p.m., Kessinger called Longmorn Toyota and held a 4-minute conversation. Call registered in Platteville. She would have been at work. 1:32 p.m., Kaylee from Tasman Geosciences called Kessinger and held a 2-minute conversation. Kessinger is still in Platteville. 2:49 p.m., Chris is in Fort Lupton working. He went to Safeway in Fort Lupton and spent $14.01. This posted July 31st. 3:01 p.m., Chris arrived home. At 4:17 p.m., Shanann called Chris and held a 19-minute conversation. At 4:28 p.m., Kessinger called Kaylee from Tasman Geosciences and held a 15-minute conversation. Her call registered still in Platteville. Instantly after this call at 4:43 p.m., she called Chris and left a voicemail. Intermixed with her creepy giggles, she asked what's to call her back. She must have been driving when she was on her call to Kaylee, because her call now registers in Fort Lupton. At 4:48 p.m., Chris called Kessinger back and held an 8-minute conversation. Her phone now registers in Brighton. At 4:59 p.m., Kessinger called Hazelbrook Sober Living and held a 22-minute conversation. Call registered in Thornton. Hazelbrook Sober Living is on a mission to fight addiction, offering sober living homes for both men and women in the Denver Metro, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo areas. 5:14 p.m., Chris called Vivint and held a 10-minute conversation. While he is on this call, Kessinger at 5:22 p.m. leaves him a voicemail. As soon as Chris ended his call to Vivint at 5:24 p.m., he called Kessinger and held a 39-minute conversation. Between 5:39 p.m. and 5:49 p.m.
I know those were the calls where Chris was, disabling certain notifications or certain services from Vivint, so Shanann would not be tipped off of his abnormal, far off baseline schedule of entering and exiting their home.
Shanann texted Chris asking what they said. Although his call with Vivint ended nearly 30 minutes earlier, and he was now on the phone to Kessinger, he responded he was still on the phone. Resetting settings and sensitivity, he said, should be good now. I will monitor it.
And Shanann was on to it. She's like, what's up with Vivint going batshit crazy? So he's like, I'm all over it. And she kind of bugs out on him. I'm not sure if this is covered here because I did not create this video.
6:31 p.m., Chris searched Google for songs by a reggae band named Through the Roots. Watts then searched lyrics to their song, Down to Earth. Researching the song revealed lyrics that included, when I'm around you I can feel peace, if I'm ever cold I can count on you to heat me up with your presence, and at the lowest level you can make me feel like I'm sky.
It is totally exhausting, but it's so much information, and I promise you there's going to be a conclusion in a few minutes, and this is all relevant. It's exhausting being Nichol Kessinger, baby.
Hi. Other lyrics are quoted by Chris in the card he wrote and gave to Kessinger on this date. 6:37 p.m., Chris searched Google for a country singer named Kanan Smith and his song, Love You Like That. Researching the song revealed lyrics like, when I'm with you I can see down the road girl, not just the gravel one we're traveling on girl, and I'm betting that it's gonna be a wild ride, but I promise that I'm gonna be there by your side. I think we got another memory in the making. Chris gave Kessinger 2 cards on this day, one he made himself with a folded piece of paper and one he purchased. He wrote the song lyrics in both of them. 6:38 p.m., Chris searched Google for love letters. 7:49 p.m., Kessinger called Jim and held a 4-minute conversation. Call registered in North Glen. She's at home. 7:54 p.m., again straight after calling Jim, Kessinger called Chris and held a 1-minute conversation. Call still registered in North Glen. 7:56 p.m., Kessinger called her mom and held an 8-minute conversation. Still in North Glen. 7:57 p.m., Chris sent a message to Shanann, letting Dita out and going to bed. Boo, love you. Shanann called him minutes later and they spoke briefly. Around this date Shanann told Addie Maloney that her marriage was in trouble. Tuesday, July 31, 2018. Chris goes to North Carolina. Chris scheduled time off from work from July 31st through August 7th. In Chris's letters to Sherilyn Cadle he said, I left to go to North Carolina. Kessinger sent me a text saying, use this time to fix the issues with your wife and enjoy time with your family. 3:22 a.m., Chris took a photograph of parking signs at Denver International Airport and sent messages, presumably to Shanann, at airport. Chris had started his trip to North Carolina. At 4:08 a.m., Chris began transferring a mass of assorted images of Kessinger and their trip to the Great Sand Dunes into his secret calculator application. They included these images. In addition, Chris transferred 2 videos from that trip into his secret calculator application. Both videos were shot by Chris as Kessinger surfed down a sand dune. Chris made comments like, so damn sexy.
Carve it up. There you go, baby. You're so damn sexy.
At 4:46 a.m., Chris texts Shanann saying, on the plane, love you boo. Shanann called him immediately and held a 2-minute conversation. At 4:50 a.m., immediately afterwards Shanann told Watts, you never ever listen to me. She asked, how much a day? Chris sent her the photograph of the parking signs and advised, $16. Shanann asked which lot. Chris said the East Economy lot. Shanann replied, $130 we can't spend at the beach. She then asked Chris to text her when he lands in Atlanta. Chris agreed. At 4:52 a.m., Chris deleted Kessinger's APC Health Safety Environmental contact from his phone. At 4:53 a.m., Shanann gave Chris instructions on how to schedule a ride from both Lyft and Uber. At 4:58 a.m., Chris called Kessinger and held a 5-minute conversation. Her phone registered in Thornton. 5:05 a.m., Chris received a calendar alert, flight, WN656 from Denver to Atlanta. 7:57 a.m., Chris texts Shanann that he had landed in Atlanta. He advised his connecting flight departs at 10:45 a.m. 8:22 a.m., Kessinger called Jim and held a 1-minute conversation. Call registered in Fort Lupton. Straight after at 8:22 a.m., Jim called Kessinger and held a 12-minute conversation. Still in Fort Lupton. 8:45 a.m., Chris received a calendar alert, flight to Raleigh, WN2141, and flight, WN2141 from Atlanta to Raleigh. 14 minutes after their last call ended, Jim at 8:48 a.m. called Kessinger again. Her phone still registers in Fort Lupton, and 4 minutes after that call he calls her again at 8:53 a.m. and held another 4-minute conversation. She is still in Fort Lupton. 8:57 a.m., Catherine, I believe she is connected to Anadarko, called Kessinger and held a 1-minute conversation. Still in Fort Lupton. 9:02 a.m., Kessinger called Jim again and held an 8-minute conversation. Still in Fort Lupton. 9:20 a.m., Kessinger called Brittany, her friend, and held a 1-minute conversation. Still in Fort Lupton. 10:18 a.m., Chris told Shanann that he just landed in Raleigh. Shanann asked him to let her know when you are coming down escalator so I can record girls. Watts replied, okay boo. 12:44 p.m., Kessinger left a voicemail for Taylor, a friend. Her call is still registering in Fort Lupton. 1:19 p.m., Assyrian Protection Services called Kessinger and held a 3-minute conversation. She is still in Fort Lupton. 1:22 p.m., Kessinger left a voicemail for, not sure who. Fort Lupton still. 3:49 p.m., Chris called Kessinger and held a 4-minute conversation. This call has Kessinger in Platteville. Shanann posted a video of the girls and her meeting Chris in the airport.
Hey. Hey. Airplane. I know. I did.
Did you notice how he looks at her tummy?
We're getting there, guys.
At 4:40 p.m., Kessinger called Jim and held an 8-minute conversation. Call now registers in Brighton. This call ends, and again at 4:48 p.m., Jim calls her straight back. And they held another 13-minute conversation. Call now registers in Henderson. I believe she is on her way home. 6 p.m., Sandra Gironda reserved a time for Shanann, Chris, and the girls at her family's restaurant. Their aperitifs were served by the time Sandra arrived at 6:30 p.m. Sandra said she was held up waiting to sign for a package so got to the restaurant late. She met Shanann, Chris, Bella, and Cece and had dinner. After dinner they went to the patio to visit for a little longer, because Sandra knew she would not be seeing them again for a while. 8:33 p.m., Kessinger called Jim and held a 22-minute conversation. Call registered in Thornton. 9 p.m., Sandra Gironda said farewells to the Watts family. Shanann snapped a picture of Sandra with the girls. Later that evening Shanann posted on Facebook that she felt ill, thought it felt like she was experiencing symptoms of food poisoning. She later texted Sandra and self-diagnosed dehydration. 9:49 p.m., Shanann texted and asked Chris, "Can you set an alarm for 5 and wake me please?" Chris replied, "Yep, I got it, love you." Shanann reciprocated. 10:19 p.m., Chris called Kessinger and held a 38-minute conversation. The night Chris arrived in North Carolina, Shanann noticed Chris was acting cold towards her. Chris did not sleep in the same bed with Shanann while they were there. He said he slept with the girls one night and slept on the couch. Every night he was in North Carolina, he said he and Shanann talked, but it was mostly through texts. Shanann's family was there and they really couldn't get their feelings across, except through texts. In his letters to Sherilyn Cadle he said, "The first night I was there, the night I gave Shanann the OxyContin. I texted Kessinger saying, I wouldn't be able to call, just text. She responded, why not? Are you with her? I thought she wanted me to spend time with my family, but obviously she wanted me to make time for her no matter what. The next 8 days I ignored Shanann every night so I could disappear and talk to Kessinger for hours. Chris did phone her this night. They talked from 10:19 p.m. for 38 minutes. Did he call her because he felt he had no choice? Chris did do a search on Google for 80 milligrams of oxycodone will. It has not been possible for police to put a timeline on when he did this search, but it did show on
All right, pay attention.
his phone. After a search myself, I found this information. 80 milligrams of oxycodone can cause feeling sick, nausea, or being sick, vomiting, indigestion, tummy, abdominal pain, vomiting, constipation, diarrhea, dry mouth, weakness, lightheadedness, feeling dizzy, sleepy or drowsy, reduced appetite, feeling confused or disorientated, difficulty sleeping, headache, chills, itching, sweating, and rash. Some of these things Shanann said she was experiencing. It can also cause fatal respiratory depression. Oxycodone is known for quickly penetrating the blood-brain barrier and typically reaches peak intensity within 1 hour of dosage. Don't forget he was also searching for the CVS pharmacy on June 20th as well. I am not saying these are connected but wanted to point this out.
Okay, well, I'm not saying they're connected either, but I'm saying that they could be. There's just like 3 minutes of this left, and then we are going to return to that, and there's going to be a lot more discussion on that. So just give me a minute here.
Frank Rusek said, the first night Chris was strange. He came out and lay on the floor in the living room where I was sleeping on the couch. I was watching TV, and when I shut it off he sat up and I said, "What are you doing?" He said he had a backache and it would help him. That was strange to me for him to lay on the floor. Wednesday, August 1st, 2018. Shanann couldn't sleep due to feeling poorly. At 1:44 a.m., she posted saying, "I'm so excited about August. Girls and I fly home August 7th. I fly to Scottsdale August 10th to 12th for an amazing weekend with my Lavelle family. Gender reveal for baby what's number 3. Our team is having lots of success, growth both personally and business, several new friends starting their Thrive experience and lots of new promoters who decided to change their life. Lots of excitement, lots to be thankful for. You know what I love about waking up every day? It's a brand new day to have a fresh start, to be better than I was yesterday, to help someone feel better and happier, to make someone smile and laugh. I am just truly blessed and love waking up thankful and happy. If you are not happy, it's up to you to change that. Everyone have an amazing day and absolutely fantastic month." A short while later at 2 a.m., Frankie Rusek, Shanann's brother, said he heard a noise about 2 in the morning on the night Chris arrived in North Carolina, and checked on it to find Shanann was sick. He said Chris never came to check on her or take care of her. He said Shanann was up all night. He also said Chris was acting standoffish, weird and distant. They thought he didn't feel good or he was tired from his flight, so didn't think anything of it. He also said that Shanann only slept on the couch in North Carolina one night, and he believed it was the night Chris arrived. 3:45 a.m., Shanann posted regarding Thrive, proving she was indeed still up. 6:26 a.m., Kessinger called her mom and held a 3-minute conversation. Call registered in Thornton. This call finished at 6:29 a.m., but a couple of minutes later at 6:31 a.m., Kessinger's mom called her back and held a 22-minute conversation. Kessinger's phone now registered in Broomfield. 7 a.m., Kessinger called Bill at Ultrasonic Guided Wave and held a 2-minute conversation. Her call registered in Fort Lupton. 7:02 a.m., Kessinger left Jim a voicemail. Call registered still in Fort Lupton. Straight after at 7:03 a.m., Jim called Kessinger back and held a 2-minute conversation. Still Fort Lupton.
Now, I'd just like to note that these upticks of phone calls in frequency of to Jim Gutowski and to her mother are on the day that Chris Watts leaves to go be with his family in North Carolina. Somebody be freaking out.
8:28 a.m., Kessinger called Jim again and held a 1-minute conversation. Still in Fort Lupton. 8:56 a.m., Jim called Kessinger back and held a 6-minute conversation. Still in Fort Lupton. 10:03 a.m., Jim called Kessinger again and held a 3-minute conversation. 10:59 a.m., Kessinger called Bill at ultrasonic guided wave and held a 6-minute conversation. Call registering in Platteville. 3:10 p.m., Kessinger called her sister and held a 14-minute conversation. Still in Platteville. 3:57 p.m., Kaylee at Taskman Geosciences called Kessinger and held a 2-minute conversation. Call registered in Thornton. At 4:11 p.m., Kessinger made a call, don't know who, and held a 3-minute conversation. Still in Thornton. At 4:14 p.m., Kessinger called Xcel Energy. Still in Thornton. At 4:15 p.m., Dallas police called Kessinger and held a 1-minute conversation.
What's up with that?
Still in Thornton. At 4:18 p.m., Dallas police called Kessinger again and held a 2-minute conversation. Call now registered in North Glen. Straight after this call at 4:21 p.m., Kessinger called her dad and held a 2-minute conversation. Still in North Glen. At 4:27 p.m., Jim called Kessinger and held a 12-minute conversation. Call now registered in Thornton. At 4:38 p.m., Xcel Energy called Kessinger and held a 1-minute conversation. Call registered in Denver. At 4:40 p.m., Kessinger called Jim and held a 13-minute conversation. Still in Denver. While Kessinger was busy all day on calls, Chris, Shanann, and the girls drove to the beach, North Myrtle Beach. They got a condo by the beach to spend time together as a family, and stayed there for 4 to 5 days. Shanann's father was with them for the first couple of days, and then her mom joined them after her dad left, so Chris and Shanann were rarely alone together. Chris and Shanann discussed over text where their relationship was going. Chris said North Carolina was the first time he and Shanann ever discussed separating. He said, if we're bringing a third kid into this world, what's our relationship gonna look like? Is it gonna be, are we gonna work this out? Or is this gonna lead to a separation? Is this gonna lead to where, we stay together and be civil with the kids, or are we gonna be our separate ways? He said Shanann was very emotional and there was a lot of crying. He told Shanann he didn't feel the same connection with her anymore. He didn't feel like he could be himself anymore or the person Shanann needed him to be. He said he felt like something was missing in his life by not talking to his parents, and Shanann said, "She tried to kill my daughter." Chris said, "I don't think she did." Shanann told Cassie that Chris was very cold. He called her Shanann, which he had not done since they started dating. He usually only called her pet names like honey or babe. Chris would not hug her or even hold her hand. He would not tell her he loved her. Shanann expressed to Cassie that Chris was a totally different person and was not the man she married 8 years ago. Cassie said it was Chris that wanted a third child. He was the one that talked Shanann into having a third child. At 6:51 p.m., Chris took assorted photographs of his children on carnival rides at the Pavilion Park in Myrtle Beach.
Okay, so let's see. Was that the end of it? Okay, it's almost the end of it. Here, I'm getting a map ready for you guys.
At 8:31 p.m., Kessinger called Jim and held a 5-minute conversation. Call registered in Denver. As soon as this call ends, at 8:36 p.m., Jim called Kessinger back again and held a 7-minute conversation. Why on earth do they do this most times they call each other? It's very, very odd to me. 9:11 p.m., Chris called Kessinger and held a 68-minute conversation. She is now in Thornton. Part 8, coming soon.
Okay, so again, that was Footsteps of Murder. I'm going to be right there to release that video and bring you over to this map. I just messed up the... Give me just one sec here. All right. Oops. I shouldn't have closed that because I do need it. Hold it just one second. Welcome to everybody who's in the chat. So glad you're here. Think for yourself. I will definitely check my email right after this and I will email you back. Sorry that I missed that. Yeah, I've actually wanted to email you about some things too. So I'm glad that we started that connection. Okay. Let's see. So again, that was Footsteps of Murder, really great channel. Her research, as you can tell, is like, damn. You know, when I said I was going to, you know, make a video, but I found somebody else already did it. I am not saying that I could have made the video she made. She just did a stellar job. So I'm certainly not claiming that. But yeah, amazing. Hey, Amanda K, how are you doing? So let me just read a couple comments. In my opinion, Nichol Kessinger was working Chris Watts, causing issues between Chris and Shanann over the Nutgate issue. Yeah, she was being all like, your people are important, and constantly asking if he was with his family. Yeah, I think she definitely exasperated the whole Nutgate scenario. My hair is like flying all the way today. I don't know what's up with it. Little static fluff. I'm just gonna go with it, the static fluff. But yeah, I think she exasperated that and every other issue. In fact, I was going to start this live stream today going back even further, you know, than the timeline of interactions and events as it relates to Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger's communication. And I was going to go back to sort of the deterioration of Shanann and Chris's communication and marriage, starting with the financial issues, and doing that in no way to dog on Chris or Shanann or anything, or just to frivolously get into their business. I've got to turn this off. My hair driving me crazy. Got to put a brush to it first. But the reason is because Nichol Kessinger picked right up on every weak link in the Watts marriage. You know, the financial issues, you know, the issues that Chris personally had with Shanann, you know, the communication issues that they had, you know, the scheduling issues, the lifestyle issues, the balance of power, the evenly yoked kind of issues of Shanann and Chris being together, and Shanann being such a dominant personality. You know, she really picked up and honed in on, you know, the fact that the marriage, look what a brush can do. Fact that the marriage was, you know, as she would certainly bring it up to Chris and portray it to Chris, it was very Shanann centered and Shanann focused, and some might agree, but you know, we're talking about her spin on it, that, you know, everything that they did was Shanann oriented because Shanann wanted to do it. Where's Chris's individuality? Where's Chris's desires? Where's Chris's wants? Where's Chris's interests? Where's Chris's passions? He's lost all of that. He's lost himself. Oh, they're going to North Carolina and they're just seeing Shanann's family. They're not seeing Chris's family. Well, as you know, it turned out because of Nutgate, and we're not going to go into that whole issue now. We talked about that plenty and we could do it again, but I don't want to go too far into it today. You know, because all of that transpired, that really gave Nichol Kessinger something to latch onto. And in that regard, you know, it was a bit of a perfect storm, right? But yes, Amanda K, yes. Let me see. Let me grab a few more comments here. Heather Williams says, hey, Heather, how are you doing? Says, the phone calls to Jim aren't random. The ones to Chris are. And in their phone call to Jim are after she talks to Chris, right before or after. That does seem to be a pattern that we can pick up. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Honey Bun says, hey, Honey Bun, how are you doing? Says, the song Battery, there's the link to the meaning. Oh, thank you. So Heather goes on to say, so Jim is connected in the how would he not be? She calls him almost every time she talks to Chris, just before, after. I think I already read that, didn't I? Okay, good job, me. Let's see here. Heather says, no one shares that much information in 6 weeks with someone. Jam, she knew like everything. Like everything for being like, well, I don't know. I could probably just give you a general idea, but when you're talking about like weeks ago, it's like, I don't know. I can probably give you like the general gist, but if you're asking me like the exact conversation and the exact days and the exact words, it's just not going to happen. Remember that? In the beginning of the August 16th interview with Kobach when her dad was there. Let's see. Yeah, I agree, Nilda and Muck Boys. I see the conversation you're having. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to go way off track, but I agree with that. Veronica, you're cracking me up. Okay. Gen Z comes in with, it makes me wonder if Jim was a hitman. Dun, dun, dun. There's one I haven't heard. Well, maybe I have heard that. Dang. All right. Okay. So, all right. I want to focus on the oxycodone issue. And some people mention in chat that if Chris's objective in obtaining that medication, that very strong narcotic, highly controlled medication, was to end Shanann's pregnancy, therefore there would be no first son of Chris Watts by Shanann. So there could be a first son of Chris Watts potentially by this one right here, ooh la la, and fulfilling her wishes, reaffirming, her place in his life, assuring her that she would not always be second fiddle, if it was his goal to end the pregnancy or to end his wife in obtaining that medication, he could have simply made the mistake of mixing up, like so many people do when having this discussion, Oxycontin and oxycodone. As somebody mentioned in the chat, the time release element of Oxycontin, that is, I believe, a defining factor of that brand of opiate narcotic. Maybe that's not what he wanted. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I'm just having a conversation with myself out loud to you guys. Don't get all crazy on me in chat here. I need your help. Jim's eyes are so far apart like a shark. Oh my God. I can't. Okay. So maybe that's where he made the mistake. If his objective was to end lives with that, maybe he and she, do you guys remember what I told you a few weeks ago was involved? Maybe they got things mixed up. So I want to take a look at this one entry here. And again, thank you, Footsteps of Murder, amazing channel, excellent researcher, super thorough. I give her an A+ in all of those categories. All right. Wait, it comes up real quick here. Okay. I want to make it as sharp as possible. Okay. All right, am I sharing this? Yeah, okay. Okay, so what it says here at 5:23 on, now this is a search back from July 20th, 2018, okay? So remember, as it might feel like ages ago at this point, but as we went over earlier in this live stream, July 12th was, a pillar, of the house of murder that these two were building. I'm sorry, did I say July? I meant June. And then July 14th, when they, went on their little day trip date, and then Dieter drug her upstairs and she saw the picture of Shanann and one of the girls and was like, what? She's so beautiful, beautiful life, beautiful wife. Ow, Dieter, stop dragging me upstairs. And basically had a teenage fit, went out in the car and pouted. Chris gained some strength, feeling of control over the relationship from this. She felt very intimidated. She ended up telling him that she wanted to have his first son, and ultimatum number one, in my opinion, based on the facts that we've been able to uncover, was put forth. So now this is just a few days later on July 20th, 2018, okay? This is Chris Watts' search. It says at 5:23 to, 7:57, Watts, searched Google for a CVS pharmacy in Westminster, DC Oaks Brew House and Eatery, and the Bandimere ticket office for NHRA national schedule for July 21st, 2018, which we know they wanted another one of their day dates to Bandimere Speedway, and 24-hour fitness locations in Westminster and Thornton. Okay, so this is the only mention of looking for a pharmacy that is in the legitimate timeline in this discovery. So let's just go with it, okay? So now let's think about where Chris Watts worked. We're going to put it on a map, where he lived in Frederick, Colorado, where Skanky Empanada lived, where their 24-hour fitness was, and where all of that was in relation to the Westminster Pharmacy and CVS. Now remember, at some point, I maybe prematurely disclosed to you that there has been a connection made between Chris obtaining this narcotic medication and Nichol Kessinger. Do you remember that? I'm not going to say anything more about it. So for those of you who do remember, you might want to publish a couple notes about it. Alice in Wonderland says Dieter probably sniffed her hand and got sick on the rock. Yeah, for a number of reasons that could be, right? Okay, so this CVS pharmacy that Chris Watts was searching is in Westminster, Colorado. All right, I'm going to switch visuals. Y'all with me here? I should make my own map because this one's not going to be very bold. And I will make my own map. But all right. So we have, because I need the, okay. We're going to do our best here. And I will make a map. I'm going to make this all much more clear to you guys, okay, why this is important. If you're not already getting what I'm putting down, picking up what I'm putting down, as we say, or whatever it is we say, or what they say. So Westminster right here is like, oh, hey, can I move this? What if I want to move that? Can I move the thing? No, I can't. Never mind. Okay, Westminster is in the red outlined area right here, like right in the middle of the screen, right? I'm going to need to make my own map. Okay. Okay. So when we look at Westminster, which is right here in the middle of the screen, I wonder if I can change my brightness settings so you guys can see this better. Hold on. That didn't help. Give me one sec, guys. Ooh, no, we need labels. Ooh. All right, let's see what this does. Sorry, I'm just playing around with this. I might have to clarify this for you with my own pictures, as I just said. So now, where's Westminster? Dang, I'm losing my thunder. I hate when that happens. There it is. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see if anyone wants to come up on panel so you can chat while I'm trying to work this out here. When I was narrating this in my own mind, looking at the map, it worked out just fine. But now that I can't like show you. I have, like I said, I think I need to do a new graphic for you, but that's okay. We're gonna work it out. Okay, so I'm gonna put the link to panel here in chat. If anyone would like to come up, please feel free to come up. I'd love to have you come up. We'd all love to have you come up and hear what you have to say. Let me give it a second to see if anyone comes up. Actually, let me see if I can find a different kind of map here. So, west. Because we're going to connect more dots here, I promise. I just have to be able to connect those dots because I have maps that we can actually all see and read. So that's going to be another Google map, of course. Let's see here. Link to panel. Come on up, guys. Don't be scared. I turned my screen off for a minute. My nose. Ugh. Okay. Sniffle, sniffle. All right. All right. Better graphic for my peeps. Let's see if this one does it. You need something bright, high contrast. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find you guys a better map. Justice A through Z, what are you doing? Come on up and tell us what you're thinking. Justice A through Z, in all seriousness, though, you asked me to, at some point, you're like, can you speak about this? I'm not sure what you were referring to. Was it the Rourke going out to North Carolina with Nico? I didn't know anything about any of that to substantiate it. I would need to know more information about that. Hi, Angie Erickson. How are you doing, sweetheart? Nice to see you. Let's see. Hey, narrator. Well, we're glad you're here. Oh, yes, guys, please take a moment to hit like. I'd really appreciate it. Please, please, please. You guys know that's all that we ask. It helps us assist out so much. You Jim alone, y'all. Yeah, right? Can we see a bunny? Oh, yeah, probably. Oh, yes, I'll get a bunny in a minute here. That's funny. You don't have a microphone? Oh, cool. Just as A through Z, I think is going to come up. That'll help me set up this map for you. So what do you guys think of Footsteps of Murder, of that whole timeline she went through? She's like amazingly thorough, right? Right? Awesome. I thought it was great. Props to her. Are you guys already familiar with that channel? I've been in contact with her a while ago about, not even sure what, because you guys know how good I am with email. Well, it's just the volume of I'm usually good with email. I'm good with email. I got a lot of channel email, guys. I just need to do, I talk about this all the time. I got to sort this out. I need to make a moderator email. I need to streamline my channel email. Oh, hey, Sabrosa, Footsteps of Murder. I just played a video from her because I was working on some timeline. I was working on a piece of the timeline video, and I was researching, and I kept coming across this one video of hers for the time that I was looking for. And I was like, oh my God, she did a way better job than I think I could have. I mean, it's amazing. They didn't search Kessinger's apartment or vehicle either. They didn't even make her go in her vehicle. Jesus Christ, they chauffeured her. It was hella thorough, putting Alice in Wonderland to sleep. Or what you were just saying, it's a lot. I know, it really is. It's a lot. But that information is so important. see. There's some things I want to pin, but I can't because YouTube, you know. Yeah, she's really good. Oh, you were riveted? Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, it just really is like so much a lot. Hey, Clark. Clark, I just want to say really quickly, I think it was during the Delphi Live the other night. I think you popped in and left and said, oh, it's only like a members only. But it wasn't members only. I'm not sure. So I didn't want you to feel like you were not welcome. I'm not sure. I may have misset a setting that made you think that or something, but that wasn't the case. That's all. Oh, thank you for the super sticker, sweetheart. Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you for being here. Okay. So Veronica says, hey, Kelly, do you know how did the life insurance go? I heard that the Watts family got part. I'm appalled. I actually made a video about that. Wendy L, thank you so much for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Do you guys know about that? Let's see. Oh, well, geez, I'm so glad you asked because I was just able to find my video super quick. It's only a 10-minute video. I will get to the pertinent parts of it, I promise, because this is a sidetrack. But people ask this question a lot, actually. Oh, let me bring up Justice A through Z first. Hello, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much. You were just the best. I love having you up on panel too. And I love hearing your voice.
Oh, I know. I miss you. I love being on your panel, dear. Thanks for having me up.
Now, somebody just asked me about how the life insurance panned out. And I, of course, made a video about it. Do you mind if we address that really quickly?
Oh, of course not. No, I'm very curious. Yeah.
So, yes, guys, it is all about the money. Follow the money and you will find the answers. First, I want to explain to you the life insurance policy that Chris Watts held. When Chris Watts started working at Anadarko, he did something that people often do when they take a job that offers a benefit package. He enrolled in a life insurance policy. This is not an uncommon practice, and I need to emphasize that fact. The life insurance policy assigned a dollar amount to the lives of each person in Chris Watts' family. And the deal is, of course, if that person passes away, so long as the circumstances surrounding the death are not disqualifying, the policy pays the...
Now, listen carefully. This is a dense 10 minutes, and I researched the F out of this. Like, so for example, Loco Jazz Hands, I love ya, says, Watts sued the R's for life insurance money. That is not so. But, you know, getting lost in translation, I understand how one could think that this is all the information you're ever going to need to know about the life insurance policy and what happened to it.
Beneficiary, the amount that was assigned under the policy. Under normal circumstances, Chris Watts would be the beneficiary if Shanann, Bella, or Celeste passed away at a young age. And Shanann, his wife, would be the beneficiary if he were to have met an untimely demise. The company holding the policy is Zurich. Zurich is a global company that is respected in its industry. So the policy that's held by the company Zurich assigned a monetary value of $350,000 to Shanann's life and $75,000 to each Bella and Celeste's lives. So when Shanann, Bella, and Celeste all passed away, were all murdered, the policy payout totaled $450,000. So Chris Watts would normally be the beneficiary, but since he was arrested and ultimately pled.
Guys, I do just need to say this channel supports both of the victims' families. So that is the Rusick family and the Watts family. So I do need to ask you, first of all, be kind on our wonderful moderators. But, you know, and it's my wishes that you please be respectful to all of those family members in chat, please.
And confessed and was charged for the murders of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. He was not entitled to any of the money under what's called the Colorado Slayer Law, which says someone who commits a murder, that person cannot benefit monetarily whatsoever because of that murder.
Yes, Rosa, she was part of that whole deal. I don't want you to think that I took people another route. Yes, you're right.
Whether it's, you know, a book deal or a movie rights deal or an insurance payout. Since Chris Watts could not claim the benefit of the payout, other interested parties related to the family, or, you know, parties who are part of the family, made claims to the payout. So first, Frank Rusick made a claim. Frank Rusick, Shanann's father, he made a claim that was on behalf of the estate. Then Sandra Rusick and Frank Rusick each made a claim to the policy as individuals, meaning not on behalf of the state, just as, you know, Frank Rusick and Sandra Rusick, person, parent of Shanann Watts. Now, insurance companies stay away from settling legal issues. They understand that, you know, there's a policy, a payout is due, and they're willing to pay the policy to whoever the beneficiary should be. But they do not feel that it is their right or obligation or their responsibility to decide the legal issues when there are several claims to a policy. So what they do in that case is they file what's called an interpleader. So what is an interpleader? An interpleader is a tool that's available under the rules of civil procedure in all 50 states, the United States, and also federally. Interpleader takes the issue of who will benefit from this policy to a judge, to a court, for them to decide, which really is the appropriate place. So to make things more complicated, Ronnie and Cindy Watts also made a claim to benefit from this policy. So Zurich files a motion with a court, the interpleader, listing each party who made a claim to the policy as defendant. We have, you know, Frank Rusick on behalf of the estate saying, well, of course, the estate should be getting the proceeds of this life insurance policy. We have Sandra Rusick saying, well, you know, I am the mother of Shanann Watts, who, you know, was murdered, who is deceased in this case. So, you know, the proceeds should go to me as her next of kin, since her husband, Chris Watts, cannot receive the monies from this policy under the Colorado Slayer Law. And then we have the Watts family saying, well, hey, this was our son's policy. This is our son's policy through Anadarko, through the company at which he worked. He put in these years of hard work that allowed this policy to even exist. So we are making a claim to the policy. We believe we are the people who should be legally entitled to the payout of this policy. It can get pretty complicated, right? I wouldn't want to be the person having to make that decision. And I'm wondering, what do you guys think? If you didn't know what the ruling was of the court, do you think that Shanann's parents should be entitled to the payout from this policy? Or do you think that Chris Watts' family should be entitled to the payout from this policy? I'd love for you to leave a comment and let me know what you think. So this matter didn't go very far in the courts. The first filings go back to June of 2020, and the disbursement of the funds occurred in September of 2020. Now, the filings are a matter of public record, and the matter did settle. The funds, some $450,000, $350,000 for the life of Shanann Watts, $75,000 for each the life of Bella and Celeste Watts, were made payable to the attorneys of the Rusick's trust account for disbursement. In the motion for disbursement, the parties state that they have all settled. Now, I want to emphasize the fact that all of the things that happened from Chris Watts enrolling in the life insurance policy to the various parties filing a claim to the proceeds of the insurance policy to the filing of the interpleader to the settling and the disbursement, this is all very normal stuff. I've heard a lot of different rumors that have been, swirling around about this life insurance policy and the payouts, including from several sources who say because there was only one defendant, only one person who was accused and was legally held responsible for the murders of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, that is why the payout went to the Rusicks. That has absolutely nothing to do with anything. The only issue that is at stake regarding, who was charged and who was held legally responsible for the murders of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste would be that Colorado Slayer law saying that whoever that person or persons is or was, they are not entitled to making any money off of the egregious crime that they committed. So I hope that everybody has a better understanding now of how this circumstance played out from Chris Watts initially signing up for a life insurance policy to the interpleader, to the claims for the benefits and to the disbursement. Now, just to make sure that I was not thinking incorrectly about any of these matters, I interviewed two people in human resources department for two pretty large companies. And I also interviewed a financial advisor and an estate attorney who deals with these matters. Now, what I learned from the two human resources personnel that I interviewed was that their companies both offer life insurance policies as part of the benefits package. And when a person starts working at the company, they are going, in each of these cases, they are going to automatically, this new hire in the company is going to automatically get this life insurance policy. It's not even something that you have to say, yes, I want that, or no, I don't. It's an automatic part of the benefits package, because a benefits package in a company is something that attracts new employees or new hires, because this benefit package that we offer you is going to improve your quality of life and your family's quality of life. And, we care about you so much. This is what the companies are saying to their new employees, that, even if something, untimely and terrible happens to you, we still want to take care of your family. Now, when I talked to the financial advisor and the estate attorney about this matter, they both listened to the circumstances as they happen factually. I showed them the filings that are a matter of public record from the courts, and they thought that things played out completely ordinarily as it would in any other circumstance in any other state.
Okay, so that's the deal with the insurance money. So, excuse me, Chris Watts' family did get some of it. And, excuse me, Rochelle says, I bet some of that money made it into Chris Watts' hands. And I said, yeah, one Cheeto at a time, kiosk style, because he can't have any kind of money. Oh, no, I'm losing my voice. So what do you think, Justice A through Z?
Well, I agree that it made it into his hands one Cheeto at a time, because, I'm sure some of that money basically ended up going to his commissary account.
Right.
So, I don't agree with the policy paying out the parents of the perp,
Yeah. Well, I think
it's not my decision, but yeah,
right,
go ahead.
Right. I mean, I think when I was talking to, and when I say I interviewed these people, these weren't even people that I know that happen to do these things. I went and sought out people who were human resource, professionals in this area, and just it was a very not biased of any type interview. I was just here, I need the facts on this. How do you guys do this? They told me. So it sounds like the way that things, were decided based on that interpleader when it had to go to a judiciary because the insurance company is not going to be in the business of deciding that. It was very like standard protocol style, I'm going to go get a cough drop. I'm going to be gone for about 60 seconds.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I'll just talk while you're gone because my thoughts are that I can see that being standard protocol basically, but in my opinion, it's extremely in extremely poor taste of the Watts family to essentially take that money from Shanann's family. And I am not a fan of the Watts at all. I don't agree with how they treated Shanann and how they treated their granddaughters. I mean, they stood up Cece on her 3rd birthday right before the homicides. In my opinion,
Yeah, I'm still looking for that cough drop. I'll be right there.
In my opinion, Chris committing those homicides is sort of an extension of their extremely negative energy towards Shanann and towards the girls.
Well, that might be a little extreme there, my darling, but perhaps.
Well, I think that them not going to his wedding was really extreme.
That was extreme. You're right.
But I think standing up a 3-year-old at her birthday party, to me, that's just heartless. That's even worse than missing the wedding, in my opinion.
Well, I don't want to get into too much of a like Watts versus Shanann's family debate, but sure. I do think at that point in time, I mean, Shanann made it very clear that that the Watts grandparents were not going to be part of the girls' lives, and so in that regard, I can understand why they wouldn't want to be there, but I don't want to get again like too deep into this. I know I invited you up and then we end up talking about
No, that's fine. I know that you and I have very different views about Chris's parents, and that's fine. I respect that totally.
I just, here's where I fall at the end of the day on it. I can't imagine what these people have been through. And, of all of the details that I feel confident that I do know, because, hey, I have this channel called What's the Obsession. I know that there are so many details I don't know. And as much as I fact check and all of that to the degree I can, there are things that I think I know that I don't have quite right because there's this like human X factor quality to them. So, that's right, Levi. I just want to read the super chat really quick, and then I have some more things to ask you about.
Okay.
Kate-Up71, thank you so much. Says, just wanted to applaud you for all the time and energy you've put into exposing NK's culpability in these murders. Kudos to you. Thank you. I really appreciate that so much. It's, I certainly didn't set out at the beginning to expose her. Not saying that you're saying that, but, it's just like anywhere else. You go where the evidence takes you. And I mean, the abundance of evidence is like neon signs, like right here. This is where it's at, and it's undeniable. Yeah. So what do you think about NK's culpability?
Oh, I am a hater of NK. I think she's completely culpable of everything, conspiring and hands-on and covering up, and I think she got away with red rum, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I was blown away. Oh, the thing that I wanted you to ask you about that I don't know if you know anything about it. The question about the DA Rourke taking Nico's remains to the Ruziks.
I do not know anything about that. Now, first of all, just the impression I have of that is that would be I think that probably breaks a number of federal and state laws in any given state that they would have to cross in transportation of that body of that fetus. I don't think that a district attorney would be appropriate in the chain of custody to be in possession of a expired fetus that was expelled from a homicide victim. I don't think that's true. I just don't. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I just can't imagine that I would have never heard about it. And
That's not something we do in the United States. I mean, I know that we do things that we're not supposed to do, but that's like I just don't think that's not.
Well, especially crossing state lines, like you said.
Yeah, or especially just anybody being in possession of a fetus was expelled from the body of a murder victim.
Right. I mean, I know like a funeral director that would maybe, I know of one personally in my area who would maybe drop off somebody's cremation remains to someone's home, like a personal delivery, and that's completely legal. But I don't know if it was not a cremation. I mean, I don't know if Nico was a cremation or not.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
I know, there's a certain point based on my research. There's a certain point where, Nico, I'm trying to be respectful about this, guys, and I'm sorry if I'm saying something that rubs someone the wrong way. I'm not. I just don't really even know the terms to use. As I'm referring to the fetus, that would be the remains of Nico, right? At some point, there was just no more mention of that. As from a scientific perspective, regarding the autopsy, I've heard all kinds of speculation and stories that I personally have not been able to substantiate. Doesn't mean that they're not true or anything, but that's all I can say is that I know nothing about that.
Yeah. I mean, I know that typical in autopsies is that they do, and this is a trigger alert, that they do remove all of the organs because they weigh them and they test them and then they replace them. Like they actually, like, I think, put them in plastic bags and then replace them into the cavity.
That's right.
It's pretty weird. But yeah, the thing about him sleeping over at their house is so freaking bizarre. And like, I could see, like, in that little social situation that they're going to offer that, and that it's just
because they're such kind-hearted people,
right? And it's such a tender moment, but it's just so strange to me. And I think that you might have alluded to it once recently in one of your lives that and I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, so let me try to phrase it more like a question. Do you think that was something that he did as a way to really ingratiate himself into the family?
Yes.
and to be able to kind of control them in a sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, because it just seems like it would be kind of a common thing in a tender situation like that to make that offer, and that no matter how insistent the party was in making the offer, the only answer is thank you for the invitation, but I'll stay at a hotel. Of course. I mean, it'd be covered by his freaking
with so much leverage in the attempt to coercively control these people, though. I mean, he was like jackpot,
Yeah. I mean, I just can't imagine. It's so weird. And I could see, as I'm saying it, I'm thinking, okay, I could see a situation where it might even seem rude to decline such an offer. But it's just one of those things, sort of like when you're arguing over who's going to pay the bill at the restaurant after dinner. It's sort of the polite thing to say, to object to somebody else paying it, basically. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, oh no, you can't pay for me. It's like, it's just kind of a polite thing to say, it's really kind of you to offer me to stay here, and I appreciate that, but I'll sleep a lot better at the hotel, and I'm sure you guys, you don't need to be worried about me and my amenities and all that.
Doesn't it seem like it would almost feel uncomfortable to accept that offer?
It's such an intimate thing. Like even staying not in a situation like that, staying in someone's home for 3 days is quite an imposition.
It really is. It really is. Even like, when my closest friends I love absolutely dearly, it's like I love that they're here and I wouldn't want them to not be here. But it's just, there's always something it's, we all know what it's like. It's a thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's a common saying that house guests and fish both go bad after a couple of days.
Right.
And no matter how much you love them, no matter how much you want them there, it's just hard to have people in your space. And then, you want to like cook for them and clean for them. And it's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It definitely is. I want to pick something up here in chat.
Sure, go ahead.
The Watts parents did not come to the funeral. They spoke out about it. They didn't feel that they were welcome. They had their own ceremony. And I mean, I certainly can see that. I mean, my God, this beautiful family was deceased and was being memorialized in a funeral because of what their son did. I don't know how I would have handle that. I don't,
it's almost more twisted when people force themselves into situations like that, like O.J. Simpson at Nicole Brown Simpson's funeral.
Yes, exactly. Jean Russell says, you guys, it's also the same day that the doll with the sheet cover over it happened. So what are you referring to as the same day as that doll incident? Because I have it up in Discovery here so we can.
Oh, yeah. What is the same day?
Yeah, I'm trying to see here. Let's see.
And do you mind if I ask a question that's
go right ahead.
A little bit out of left field from the context that we're in? I'm just curious if you've heard anything about this familicide out in Washington State and Fall City with oh my goodness, the perpetrator.
It's Sub Rosa said, I've been Sarah Booned and in Delphi trial land.
So this just happened this past Monday. The 15-year-old son of 5 children in a family in Fall City, Washington, he shot his mother, his father, his 4 younger siblings in kind of in the middle of the night at like 4:30 in the morning. And his 11-year-old sister pretended that she held her breath until he left the room. And then she snuck out the window and went to a neighbor's house and called the police. And, the other siblings, the 2 brothers that were 13 and 9 and a little sister that was 7. So this 15-year-old has been arrested, and there's not a lot of information that's come out about the case yet. I kept thinking about the Watts case because a whole family getting wiped out like that.
Yeah. Wow.
Unreal. So the kid, the perpetrator is 15.
The perpetrator's 15?
Yeah, he's the son. He's the oldest.
Oh my God.
5 kids. So the mom was 42, the dad was 43. The mom was a registered nurse, but she was homeschooling all the kids. They had this gorgeous house right on a lake in, the town of Falls City is like 2,000 people. It's a teeny tiny quiet town.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. This poor 11-year-old, she had a bullet wound to the neck and a bullet wound to her hand, and she survived. She went to the hospital. She got stabilized. She's with family.
Oh my God.
Isn't that, I mean, I am just beside myself and wanting to know, like, what in the world.
So how many casualties were there?
3 children and the mother and the father. So 5 casualties, 1 survivor. But I mean, what's even worse for the survivor, not only did she lose her family, but she was aware that her 15-year-old brother was trying to take her life. When she called the police, she told them that her 15-year-old brother had shot and killed the entire family. Because he actually had just called the police himself and was claiming that his 13-year-old brother had done that, and that he was hiding in a bathroom himself, and that his 13-year-old brother had then hung himself. And while he was on the phone, he had no idea that his 11-year-old sister survived and snuck out. So while he was on the phone, they got the other call. And they got a lot of 911 calls because this was right on a lake. So the noise of the multiple gunshots traveled, and everybody was calling 911.
Oh, sure.
But those two calls coming in at the same time, so there was a lot of confusion. But I mean, again, it's like, just when you think it couldn't get any worse, then he's trying to frame one of his victims. Like it's not bad enough that he took his life. He's trying to take his basically his reputation too.
Well, it must have been a harrowing capture of the perpetrator. My gosh, with all that confusing.
Right. So so the police got there, and again, when they got there, when they arrived, Paula Plunder, of course, has all of the information that's available. She's got a couple of videos, and there's not a lot of information available other places other than Paula and a couple of 2-minute like news clips from mainstream media.
Oh my God.
But when the first responders arrived, the 15-year-old, his name's Andrew, he still didn't know that he didn't know that the 11-year-old survived, and he didn't know that they had any information on him.
Oh my goodness.
So when they arrived, he thought he was gonna snow them.
Wow.
He thought he had it in the bag.
That's insane. Wow. Thank you for letting me know about that. I want to look
It's crazy. I know. It's so sad. I'm so shaken up by it, especially because that's like my old stomping ground, and I've been to Fall
Where
City.
was it? You said Washington State?
Yeah, Fall City is just like 30 minutes east of Seattle. It's in the foothills of the Cascades. It's like near Issaquah and Snoqualmie Pass.
Okay.
It's a beautiful area, but real quick, it's also part of the dumping ground of where Gary Ridgway, the Green River killer, would dump his victims, and a lot of other serial killers would dump their victims out that way. Because it's so like densely forested and not too far from the city.
Wow. My gosh.
But yeah, a beautiful quiet town. 2,000 people. I mean, that's tiny.
Oh my gosh, that is really tiny. That's really small. That's like a stoplight and a couple stop signs.
I was so confused because they were calling it a domestic violence situation. But I finally got clarification that Washington State defines domestic violence as violence within a household, people that reside in the same household, and blood relatives. Because I was like, domestic.
So even if it's a spree murder, it's domestic.
If it's a family member, and if it's even roommates that aren't family members, if they cohabitate. But I was under the impression that domestic violence meant intimate romantic partner,
Okay.
Because in some states it does. In some states it does.
Right.
Like Washington State has a very liberal. So I was just really perplexed. I was like, oh my goodness, they're already calling it domestic violence. Like, what is it that they're not saying?
Yeah.
Because my first thoughts was like, maybe it's a teenage boyfriend girlfriend situation, but then it's like, no, they're all the same family, all the children.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, Anna Franco says, yes, that 15-year-old is a bully and terrorist. Wow. Well, we'll have to learn more about that. MM Clark says, Kels, please be good to yourself this weekend. Sending healing energy. You're hearing my voice. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, you poor thing.
It's just.
Have you been having sickness or allergies?
Yes, all the above.
Both.
Yeah.
I had crazy allergies too.
You were saying that,
like
yeah.
a month ago, and yeah, it finally has resolved. I went to an ENT specialist. They couldn't really tell me anything. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, I was talking to somebody. I was in the grocery store yesterday, and we were just having small talk, and he said, "Oh gosh, you know, I have the sinus infection, and it's just my son's had it for a few weeks. He just finished a round of antibiotics. He still isn't feeling well." And she's like, "Oh my God, I've had it for like 2.5 months." I was like, "Do not tell me that." I almost never take antibiotics.
I had antibiotics and steroids right up front because it was so bad, and then it didn't totally take care of it. But you know, for me, one of the things that has helped tremendously, and this was like so unusual, so in case it might be helpful for you or anybody listening, it's like when the membrane on your eardrum dries out, that causes a lot of problems. So mine was dried out both from the extremely dry weather and the hay fever, and then dried out even more so from taking Sudafed to combat the hay fever.
Oh, I know. I've had to, and I really detest Sudafed, and I've had to. I can't get enough oxygen without it.
Right, exactly. I used to never take Sudafed, but then there's like a situation like that where it's like I have to. But putting oil in your ears, like getting oil, like it can be castor oil, olive oil, or any special eardrops.
Oh, I forgot. I do that when sometimes I think that would be a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I reminded you, because I'd never heard of that. And it's been something I've been doing every day since I learned about it. And I think it's helping a lot.
Awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah, well, I hope you feel better. Yeah, you sound really rough, girlfriend.
Yeah, I know. It just, you know, it's like by the time, I don't know, all of a sudden my voice, it just started, you know, it gets we talk about something else. We're getting there. We're
right. I know you sounded fine up until about 10 minutes ago, and then it just like took a sharp turn. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. So actually, with all that, I think I'm going to end this, and I am going to go to bed because I had to take a day and a half off of work last week, and I have to just make sure I'm getting better for work next week. So
yeah, understandable.
So thank you so much for coming up. I appreciate you so much, sweetheart.
Oh, you're such a nice friend. You're my YouTube friend. You're the one who broke the ice for me on getting onto this platform, and I'll just tell you.
I know. I remember when you were just thinking about it. I know.
Oh, I don't think I was even thinking about it. You were like pushing me. You're like, you should come on my show and be a guest.
I bullied her into it.
I was just like, I remember saying something like, you know, well, I would love to, but I don't think I have anything to say.
You have tons to say. And I'm putting Justice A through Z's Love Saves Lives, her channel. I'm putting it in the chat right now. So if you are not a subscriber, if you haven't checked her out already, definitely do. I love it when I can catch your live streams during the day and get in chat. It's just like such a nice vibe. So definitely check it out.
One of the things I have so much fun with, and I love the platform. So I just always want to acknowledge that you helped me break the ice with it. To me, it's like video therapy. It really is. Like I feel like it's so cathartic. And in my little studio, just to warn people if they haven't seen my channel, I kind of go over the top with home decor craziness.
I love it.
It's the coolest stuff. And maybe you've heard me say this, but maybe you haven't. Is like when I was little, I wanted to live in the land of make-believe on Mr. Rogers' television show.
I heard you say that. That's great.
And it's like I'm living my dream.
Here, let me bring something from your channel in so people can experience it. Yeah.
So, and yeah, the other thing that you and I have in common, and I don't know other true crime channels that have that weird like yoga thing, you know, because you're like an expert yogi, and I'm new at being a certified yoga teacher.
When I started this channel, I had a yoga studio when I lived in Philadelphia for years. I've basically until COVID, I was teaching yoga is like a staple of my life, not necessarily my full-time gig, but for a while it definitely was my full-time gig for like 20 years. And then COVID just put a halt to it. So when I started this channel, I was like, yoga or true crime, and I was like, maybe it can be yoga true crime, but I was never able. I have some yoga videos on this channel. I should make some more and put them up, but I was never able to like really figure out how to make that union work.
It's a tough union. I kind of have like my pre-recorded yoga things on most days, and then I have my lives on most days. So it's kind of the way it's just evolved. Hello, Justice Warriors.
I meant to put that. I just meant to see your beautiful face in the background there.
Oh, see, I just love my what I call my chakra tower there in the corner.
Yes, I love that. Oh, that's awesome.
I work so
I love
hard on
that.
that.
Let's check that out. Nice.
I'm such a goofball. Such a goofball. Oh, and look over in the far left.
You got more stuff there since last time I've checked in.
That big gold blob is the Liberty Bell. It's like you can see the crack in it. It's just like a flag of the Liberty Bell.
Oh, that's cool.
That's like one of my most recent additions that I just love.
I used to live 2 blocks from Liberty. Actually, my yoga studio I was just talking about was a block and a half away from the Liberty Bell. The Liberty Bell was on 4th in a certain street. Well, I'm not going further into it because it could be, I don't know. But yeah, I was right there. Old City, the historical.
I got to touch it when I was a little kid, and I would love to take my children to see it in person.
Oh, it's so cool. I love Philadelphia. Yeah. I miss it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I love every time I hear the word Philadelphia, I think of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air song.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised on a playground is where I spent most of my days with this good voice. I know.
I know. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, dear, I'm going to hop off so it makes it easier for you to take care of your business.
I just want to keep talking. Well, thank you so much.
This is today. This was the first time I wore my AF hat. Do you like it?
Oh, nice. I do like your AF hat.
I got it because, AF.
Abercrombie and Skanky Finch, yeah.
oh my goodness. No. I was waiting for years for that arrest of Jeffries to be arrested. So excited about that. But no, it's Air Force. But
I'm thinking Abercrombie and Fitch.
It's an Air Force hat, but I was
Air Force
thinking
hat. It's not Abercrombie and Sex Crimes Fitch. It's Air Force.
right. But I was thinking more like AF, like
AF. I gotcha.
As F, yeah. So that's why I wore it, because it's I wasn't wearing it for the Air Force, but yeah, I could wear it for the Abercrombie and Fitch because that's kind of right in my neck of the woods almost.
Oh, is it?
I'm just an hour from Columbus.
Okay.
And all that crap was going on for 20 years out there by Columbus. New Albany is where they had their kind of their Jeffrey Epstein estate. He hung out there a lot, and I was
wondering about that connection.
Michael Jeffries, Epstein, and this guy Wexler, who is not arrested, and he's 86
well, wasn't
years
he
old.
the one that used to be like the CEO of like the Limited and those companies?
Yeah. Well, he also, he hung out with Epstein, like they were tight. So, like he's 86. Michael Jeffries was 80 when he was just arrested. It's like with the guy being 86, he'll probably croak before they ever get around to arresting him. But at least they got Michael Jeffries and a couple of his cronies, and it's just really sad what they put people through. It's really, really sick.
It's horrible. I started making a video the other day when then this news first broke about the parallels between the Abercrombie and Fitch surroundings arrest and P. Diddy. But then exactly. I let it dwindle. Maybe I'll pick it back up, but it was like news. I don't know. I don't like trying to pick up on the breaking news though, because that's not what this channel is. So maybe I'll pick it back up and do a deep dive.
Yeah, I know. I kind of am all over the place. I still hyper focus on Kylie Rodney, but just whatever strikes my interest.
Yeah.
And I like to talk about the Watts case a lot too. And I really appreciate you helping me learn so much about the Watts case.
You helping me.
It's a phenomenal case, and you girl are going to help get some more justice. I really believe that you are.
I hope so.
I believe it.
I can't.
Sure.
I mean, it's like we kind of can't see any other way, because like to think of like that not being the possibility. I don't want to say it's like what's the point, because there are lessons in all of these stories, but justice has to happen for these guys.
Right. Like that's how I feel about Kylie Rodney.
Yeah, I feel the same about that too. So thank you for carrying the torch on that.
Well, and there's other people that carry the torch heavier than I do. I'm glad that I'm not the only one talking about her, but yeah, I mean, just today I was talking about my theory of what I think actually happened to her. It changes, of course, but I certainly don't think it's even a remote possibility that she drove her car into the water and passed away from that. I don't think that that's even slightly possible.
You don't think that would happen at all. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's just not feasible with the lay of the land and the physics and the velocity, and yeah, it's not, like the length of the vehicle is like 15 feet, and the water was how deep? The water was 14 feet. Like the car didn't do a somersault in the water.
Right.
The SUV did not do a somersault in the water. It's just, anyway.
Oh man, don't drag me back into that one.
I know. Well, it's such a mess because I think, the powers. Kelly, let me just say this. Did you know about the $33.8 billion worth of government contracts that Scammy Smith's parents had access and control over from the year 2020 to the year 2030?
I got to open up my notes. And you're going to say that again. Just 1 second.
$33.8 billion worth of government contracts.
Wait a minute.
Scammy Smith's mommy and daddy controlled 30 or in the midst of controlling. So it's from 2020 to 2030.
Oh, I'm like I have to take like notes, like this isn't going to be recorded, but so wait, how much?
$34 billion, basically. Billion.
Of what?
Government contracts.
Bunnies? I'm just kidding.
Scammy. You know who Scammy is? The one,
Scammy.
The star of the show. I mean,
government contracts on contracting what to what?
Good question. Shanda is the one who came across the information, and so she would also, she
pulled Squirrels on Fire for those of you.
Yeah, she pulled it up on her screen, and so I'm sure she knows what the contracts are. I know that.
Do you know the parents' names of Scammy?
The Smiths. I forget her dad's name is James Smith, I think. And I forget her mom's name, but they own Sierra Tahoe Investigation. They own that company. Sierra Tahoe Investigation. Her dad is a private investigator. Her mom's an attorney. Those parents were representing the government in a 25-year litigation lawsuit with Kylie Rodney's granddad. So Kylie Rodney's granddad was in litigation with the U.S. government over like land rights or water rights for 25 years. And Scammy's parents were the ones representing the government. And then it wasn't that long ago that I thought, I wonder if it wasn't as contentious as it sounds. I wonder if there wasn't like
Wouldn't they exercise eminent domain before 25 years? I mean,
well, maybe they were trying to drag it out to keep the money rolling in. Maybe there's a lot more to that ties
Right.
directly in with that $33.8 billion. And maybe Kylie Rodney's grandfather thought that he should get more of a cut or something.
wow.
I have no idea. I'm just confabulating. I'm just speculating.
I think this goes over my revenue cap. That's a lot of money.
I know. I mean, this is like bigger than Elon Musk. I don't think Elon Musk has that much in government contracts. It didn't surprise me at all because I figured that was what was going on, but just not to that magnitude. Like when Shan found that information, it was just a couple months ago, and I was like, well, that kind of answers all the questions. It just solidifies what I'd been thinking from jump.
Well, I'm gonna have to. You've intrigued me now. That's for sure. Damn. Huh. Wow.
Well, oh my goodness. And let me just tell you this, because this is fascinating. And I put a link to it, or I'm going to put the link to it in my description from my video today. Just about a week ago, Shanda happened upon like an editorial that Kylie Rodney wrote when she was 11 years old. 11 years old. And it's about trying to motivate people to vote to outlaw plastic bags in the state of California.
Uh-huh.
And it's written like better than I could have written it. And she was 11.
Oh, wow. Wow. I think I've seen that before.
Well, and yeah, there's little nuggets like that just get uncovered, and you're just like, holy
wow.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, she was such a phenomenal individual.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, she was. What a loss to the world. Jeez.
Oh, I know. Just the music. I mean, just the music by itself. But yeah, just as a adorable little person.
Yeah.
So sad. Well, I keep saying I'm going to jump off, so I am.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming up, love. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Oh, and Crime and Crochet, it's so nice to see you. All right,
yes.
I'm gonna do the leave studio button.
Okay. All right. Bye, sweetheart.
Talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye. Crime and Crochet says, and Nelda, I'm so sorry you couldn't come up. I don't know why. I was looking for you backstage after you said you tried to come up. But next time, I'll try to email you beforehand to let you know it's coming. So I like it when you come up. So I'm sorry about that. Crime and Crochet, how are you doing, sweetheart? Says, who knows if it would have gotten more info if a certain person hadn't decided to be the mouthpiece of the kids. You mean Scammy Smith? Yeah. Yeah, we can't use plastic bags in New York anymore. So, all right, guys, I've got to peace out, or I'm just going to keep But you know what? We ended with on the Watts situation with the timeline note about Chris Watts' search for that CVS pharmacy in Westminster, Colorado on July 20th, 2018. We're going to pick back up on that. And there's still so much more. So we have the first documented contact on June 12th. We have the first ultimatum that changed everything on July 14th. And we're working up to the final ultimatum and those details. It's just such a big case. Yeah, sorry, Jean Russell, I didn't get back to what you were speaking about earlier. I did look up, the day the doll picture was posted, sweetie, was on August 9th. So that would have been the day after, Chris Watts deleted his Facebook page, the day after the Mistress gave him the key to her house, the day after the ultrasound, the day after Nichol Kessinger Google searched, is the discovery says topics like marrying your skunky empanada. So this doll picture was posted the next day, August 9th. there's always, so much controversy about this. It says here the image was taken by Watt's phone. Device number 41 is Watt's phone. What was it? I think the timeline number is out of sequence. What was it about that? You can see on that day, also August 9th, Shanann says, why'd you cancel your Facebook account? Okay, I'm going to pull myself out of the rabbit hole. Oh, speaking of rabbit holes, do you guys want to see a bunny? I think I'm still talking, right? Bye, girl. Hi, girl. Cute bunny. Okay. Aw, you got a little cute bite bunny. Let me sit back down. Okay. These looks a little scary, huh? Oh. Her name is Cutie Pie. She's so freaking cute. I don't know. She just look. We have a few white bunnies, but there's like something special cute about her. Sorry. Oh, she just got scared. The light scare you on you. Don't want to scare her. It's time for a bunny break. Okay, and on that bunny break, I'm going to end this because I want to freak her out. All right. Love you guys. Be good to yourself, and I'll see you soon. Bunny.